Well, it's been a while, and now it's time to talk about Arsenal. What's going on, everybody, man? How is everybody doing? We're here just to talk about really what's going on with Arsenal halfway through the season. There's a lot that's been happening. First of all, my health has kicked my ass all the way for the last probably 4 to 6 weeks. So that's why you've not had much content going up on there. But I do apologize for that. And I'm trying to get back to where I was before. So I really appreciate the fact that you guys have been patient with me. I want to welcome the African Guna, who was actually out in Dubai with the guys. First of all, how are you? How you doing? Happy New Year to you. And how did
Happy,
you enjoy the experience?
yeah, Happy New Year, Apollo. You had a little bit of a break from Arsenal, so glad to be on here and chat with you because it's been a while. I think firstly, I want to start by saying that since I got to Dubai, we've pretty much lost every single game since I've been here. So I'm not really sure if it's been a good time here, but spending time with the family, enjoying some time off, and obviously got the opportunity to see some of the Arsenal boys last week Friday. It was funny because there was a lot of hype around it. In terms of the promotion, the flyer had Declan Rice on it, it had Trossard, it had Saka, had Martinelli. So I was really excited that I would maybe see my client Martinelli or any of those players. I would have been very happy to see. Waited a couple of hours. Obviously, I was wearing a pretty cool kit that everybody's eyes were fixated on. So I really stood out, to be honest, because yeah, everyone else was wearing pretty much classic stuff. And yeah, we waited a few hours. There's a lot of traffic in Dubai, and all of a sudden, security's coming in. They're riding in on a golf cart, and the first person I see is Cedric. And I turn around to my friend who's a Real Madrid fan who lives in Dubai, and we were really good friends from a young age. So he decided to come with me for the experience. And I looked at him and I was like, I can't believe what I'm seeing. Cedric is here. And then I saw Zinchenko, then I saw Carl Hein, and then I saw your boy Reese Nelson. And yeah, there was, uh, I'm a diehard Arsenal fan, right? So for me, even watching, I mean, being at Emirates with you in May, I heard a lot of the chants, but just in general, even watching on TV, you hear a lot of the chants, and it felt like the organizers didn't really know all the chants. Some of the Arsenal chants were off tune. Some of like the Super Mick Arteta, 49, 49, undefeated. All those main chants weren't really being sung. I think a lot of people, when they saw the players, were a bit disappointed with who was there. I think if we were told beforehand who was showing up, I don't think as many people would have shown up. But hey, still great to see the Arsenal boys. Zinchenko had mentioned how he can really feel and appreciates Gunners around the world, which was really cool to hear. Yeah, they did a little bit of a Q&A. There was a lot of politics involved. So, if you were connected, somehow you managed to get inside closer to the players, and that was really blocking the view for the rest of us. Even though I had really good seats, I was pretty much in the front row. If you were there early, you got some meet and greet passes, which would allow you to kind of have some time at the end to go towards the players and get them to sign the shirts. It was poorly managed. A lot of the people who had the shirts, had the meet and greet, didn't actually even get that opportunity. And I knew one guy who snuck in and he got his whole shirt signed by the team, and he was super ballsy, and he took a chance, and happy for him, he got his shirt signed. And yeah, I think overall it felt like the players were not really happy to be there. It felt like they were paid, and it was kind of one of those things. They just had to be there, and they couldn't wait to get out. um on the way out, I don't know if you saw the video. I shared it in the group, but the players were walking out. There was a bunch of security, and I was screaming to get a signature from any of the players. It started with Cedric, then Zinchenko, and then Reese Nelson, who I jumped right in front of him, gave him my pen. He picked up my pen. He was about to sign my shirt, and security just came and pushed me out of the way, and I got mobbed. Yeah, I'm not. You're on mute, by the way, but I'm not. I sent it in the group. So I was literally about to get Reese Nelson's shirt. And it's really funny because, my
Oh,
friend, he's not one of my favorite players, but in the moment I became like a fanatic. Like I just went crazy, right? Because it didn't matter who it was. I just wanted a signature from any Arsenal player.
did obviously they saw your shirt, right?
Yeah, no, I wasn't getting that one signed. I was getting the
Oh,
pink one signed.
Okay.
Yeah, so he grabbed my pen. As soon as he grabbed it, it was a mob. It happened so fast, and it was really disappointing. But at the end of the day, I think just the experience to meet other fans from around the world. I got interviewed actually, which was really cool. I tried to get the footage, but yeah, didn't happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, super cool experience. Maybe spent 4 or 5 hours there. Got to meet a lot of Arsenal fans from around the world. Some people recognized me. We took some pictures. So that was really cool. And yeah, I mean, hopefully when I come in May, we'll get another opportunity to see the players. But yeah, I mean, any opportunity to be involved with Arsenal is something that I'd take. I actually postponed my flight just to make sure that I could make the event. And I met some really cool people. So yeah, overall good experience. Just wish it was
Excellent.
better
Excellent.
players, like anyone, even a Havertz, Rice,
Did
Saliba, Gabriel. Like there was so many they could have really chosen from. They didn't have to even go top tier, but they really brought the bottom of the barrel, and it was just like
yeah.
wow, you know.
I mean, so really, let's talk about. Oh, Ebony's in the chat as well. What's going on, Ebony? Shout out to you. Ebony's at
Hi,
work, just
Ebony.
chilling. Um, so
Hi.
let's talk about. You're right, darling. Let's talk about the whole Dubai thing. So I think that the time for the break came at a brilliant
Yeah,
time because of the situation at hand. I've been, by the way, to everybody watching this live stream, I don't give you all the updates about Urine Timber because I have inside sources and it doesn't look professional of me doing that. But the guys in the panelists, they get pretty much all of the updates that I get. So they kind of knew the situation with Timber before he went on the video and surprised everybody with the fact that he was running around. We kind of knew that in the first week of December, about a month ago, that he was going to be scheduled for heavy training. And and when he comes back, which is today, he has a I think 12 o'clock tomorrow, lunchtime. He has an exam with the doctor and medical then, and that would be his final go ahead for full training. So at the moment, we're still before we know whether he's actually going to be joining the team in their activities. I personally think they're that, from what Zoe said to me, and this is fine because the cat's out of the bag now. Everybody knows that he's making his way back and will play again this season, rather than all these rumors that he weren't going to be playing at all. They're just really looking for stress points at the moment. That's all they're doing. He wants to play. He's saying he can play, but Arsenal are being very, very cautious with him. So I think that they're probably going to sit him for another couple of weeks, maybe till the end of the month, and then maybe try and integrate him. But we'll see what they do. At the moment, it's worked out really well for him. Jesus, he looks ready to go and will probably start against Palace. Partey, what are we? Where is it? Tuesday today. So Partey, I don't think Partey's gonna have an exam tomorrow. I think he's dated down for Thursday, so we won't know anything until Thursday. And that's, I believe, that is that when Arteta's in his press conference. So
it's probably Friday. Friday's the press conference.
Fridays.
Saturday.
So we'll know a little bit more then in regards to him. Fabio Vieira looked well as well. So I think we got a clean bill.
So actually, Vieira's out for a couple more weeks. That
a
was
couple of more
broken
weeks
today.
Yeah,
You're right on the Timber stuff. He's doing well, but it seems like the club is going to be very careful. They're not going to rush him back in. Zinchenko's out for this weekend. Still hasn't recovered. And as you said, Gabriel Jesus probably will start this weekend. And Thomas Partey probably not this weekend. Maybe he'll be on the bench, but I don't think so. Probably next week.
Yeah. I mean, we'll have to see what happens when he gets his medical on Thursday. How was your New Year, Ebony?
It was all right, actually. I actually worked, which is fine because, gone are the days when, I used to go out on the New Year's Eve. I'd rather work and earn money. So, so it was all right. Just to let you know, I'm going to New Orleans on Saturday.
Ooh, you've been before, haven't you, with Arsenal?
Yes.
When you met Robbie out there. Yeah.
It's the same event. It's the Guna Gras, which is held around about the same time as Mardi Gras. So I'll be meeting a whole load of American Arsenal fans out there, and it is to be said that American Arsenal fans are just as boisterous and passionate as the UK Arsenal fans. So it'll just be like 4 days, because I'm going to go out there early, but it's going to be like 4 days of just like Arsenal events and just like going to different places and watching Arsenal games and all of that. And there'll be other things as well, but yeah.
Yeah. I think I forgot to talk about Zinchenko as well. He looks like he's ready to go as well. So a lot of guys really
opposite.
He's ready to go in terms of training, but I think he's being tested tomorrow as well when he comes back.
He hasn't trained at all since he's been in Dubai. And actually, the other thing is Saliba hasn't even trained at all. He might actually be carrying a small knock.
Yeah,
so we'll probably find out more about that.
I haven't had an update on it, so that's why I can't really say anything.
But, I mean, I know I have all the. I mean, I go through all the training pics and everything. Yeah. He is in Dubai. He's been signing some things, but in terms of actually being in any of the trainings, I haven't seen anything.
Yeah. Someone says, "Good evening, Apollo, Ebony. I'm right now Côte d'Ivoire with my national team."
Oh, for the AFCON. Okay. Super cool.
Yeah, probably. I don't know who that is because they haven't left. It's Prince. It's Prince. What's going on, Prince? Shout out to you, bro. Right, guys. So
sorry, just really one question, Ebony. Are you going to New Orleans just for that, or you're doing another trip? And
I'm going to New Orleans primarily for touring purposes, which is why I'm leaving early. Yeah. I'm going to New Orleans early, and then like the main bulk of it will be with the girl.
I'm super excited for you. I'm sure that's going to be great.
Yeah, I'll be doing some Facebook lives. Don't worry.
Sounds good.
So, guys, a couple of things there. Obviously, the guys out in Dubai were doing all of their participation and sponsor activities for Emirates, Adidas. And remember, Soha Realty is the new company where the sponsorship begins this year. So that's going to be an added monetization for the club as well. I mean, the commercial business is really bumped because the Adidas Accelerator starts this year. The Emirates Stadium deal, naming rights, that is renewed this summer as well. That's going to be a hell of a lot of money, possibly another 20-30 million a year in the kitty. The Adidas deal's already doing that. The new Sky deal kicks in as well. Then there's a new TV deal. So there's a lot of cash. I mean, from what I've been told, about 107 million per year is going to be added with these new deals. That's nearly enough money to buy Victor Osimhen. So think about it that way, guys. With just our money, put away, just our normal money, the increased added revenue is enough to buy Victor Osimhen alone. That's how crazy things are for Arsenal this summer. Unfortunately, it means nothing now because obviously the FFP, I'm hearing so much stuff, guys. Benzema, Mbappe, I mean, some crazy, absolutely bonkers stuff. And I'm sorry, guys, I haven't done a video and I haven't reacted for it because I've called Sophie, I've called Colin, I've called the guys at the training ground, and they've just said to me, none of it's real. None of it's. They have made 3 inquiries. One of them is his name Xerxes or something like that?
Zerkzee.
Yeah, and a couple of loan.
He's Netherlands. Arsene Wenger wanted him before he broke out maybe 5 years ago.
Yeah. Beast of a player.
And then there's Onana as well, which
Amadou Onana.
We don't need another goalkeeper.
No, he's not a goalkeeper.
That's the midfielder from Everton. Really, really good
player. He
destroyed
us when he played against us. He
destroyed us. He destroyed us big time.
So good.
That was just an inquiry really about in the summer rather than buying him here. But look, Arsenal fans are starved of information at the moment and they're just jumping on everything that comes out. But I think half of the fan base has wised up to the fact that, which is what I said last month, I said, don't expect anything big from Arsenal because they can simply not buy a player. If anything gets done, it's going to be a loan. And I'm expecting that would probably be maybe an attacking midfielder and defender. It wouldn't be a striker at the moment, simply because strikers are at a premium. The only way I think that the only way I think we would buy a striker.
The striker, we're not going to spend the money because, we're going to wait. By the way, Osimhen going to Chelsea. I'm not even going to get myself involved in that stuff because I just don't see it happening, even though there's a release clause. He's not going to go to Chelsea for the trophies or European football because they're not going to get that. But they're going to pay him a crap ton of money. So he'll probably end up there and we'll probably... I'm looking at Vlahovic, 50 million right now. Juventus need to sell. I still think he's the guy. People are sticking up their nose saying he turned us down a few years ago. Who cares? We didn't have Champions League at the time. It's a different story, and we can't really be like looking back and playing that card saying, oh, well, he declined us before. At this moment in time, I think he kind of fits the bill for us, right? He's the Giroud, the Benzema that we're looking for. The Ivan Toney stuff, I mean, it's too expensive right now. And he said himself that he's not going to move. And I respect that because he owes that club. They backed him through this whole process.
They stood by him. Yeah,
absolutely. So for me, I don't see any striker coming in. The Zerki guy, maybe, but I think he costs like 30-40 million. So I don't see it happening. Apparently, we don't want to sell Nketiah. He's part of the project, etc., etc. So for me, it's that attacking midfielder. I'd be really upset if we get another defender. I don't want to see it. If we don't need, personally, for me, we don't need another defender. I know Partey's coming back, but we still need another midfielder. We needed another midfielder.
Yeah, we badly. Yeah.
Something we need to talk about, Apollo.
We do need another midfielder.
Cool. We saying that we can loan, but what does that mean? That means that we failed miserably with 65 million on Havertz and Raya. Why did we spend over, technically, I know we didn't outlay the money for Raya yet, but that's 100 million that we spent that hasn't really done anything for our team. We got to hold our hands up and say, hey, it's been 6 months. Havertz, he's not going to be that guy. Kind of the same feeling we had about Pepe. Like, cool, we can see some raw talent there, whatever, but he's not 72 million worth that's just going to come and impact our team. So we've
I'm someone who defended Havertz, but he definitely is 65 million.
I honestly think that to even shell out even £1 for Raya is a waste of money. I have absolutely no faith in Raya. He is not Ramsdale quality, and Ramsdale is the best goalkeeper that we've had, in my opinion, since Lehmann. I just think that if you want a goalkeeper, you need to look elsewhere. Raya is not the man. Sorry. Havertz, I've had my doubts on him. Yeah, he was all right at Chelsea, but he was just all right. So so if we do get another goalkeeper, we need to send Raya back to Brentford because he's not good enough. I know Arsenal fans are on about the fact that he's got a longer kick. What else does he have? He has nothing, in my opinion. So
maybe he claims Cross is a bit better, but I mean the difference is very, very marginal in my opinion. And I think Ramsdale's been really unfairly done the way things have transpired. And Apollo, the other problem that I have is that, okay, cool. Let's say, yeah, cool, Arteta, you want to make these decisions and whatever, but he's not managing right. And this is a problem with Aubameyang, with Pepe. Like, he devalues our own players by the way he manages it. So, like, now, let's talk about Reece Nelson. Let's talk about Smith Rowe. They aren't worth much because everybody knows that we don't rate them. They don't even play. So how are we going to try and get some decent money, right? And
I mean, you literally could get in the right scenario, you could get 90 to 100 million for Reece Nelson and Smith Rowe.
Yeah,
not now, impossible.
But because of the treatment that both of them have got, we're
going to get 40 million for both.
I think to get rid of either of them or both of them would be a disgrace. I just think that I'd like to know what's in Arteta's head. And on top of that, we need Tierney back, because Zinchenko is just not a left back.
Yeah, that's not going to happen either. He doesn't even want to come back. I was going to come to Emerson as well about Zamedi. He's got a 52 million release clause, which first of all, we can't afford to pay. But secondly, he's happy where he is at Real Sociedad. From what I've heard in my sources, we haven't got. I know there's a lot of stuff going around that we contacted them and there's a deal going through. And that's not, as far as I know. The conversations that I've had with the guys at the training ground, the players up on your screen now are the ones that we made phone calls for this month to inquire about. That's it. That's not saying any deals were done.
I'll take Firmino any day.
Yeah,
100%.
All these were that I know, guys, are inquiries. These are the ones I can officially tell you that I know are true. With the other stuff, Benzema and all of that stuff, which I think would be a great loan.
As well, to be honest, right now.
Yeah,
I take it.
That would be a great loan. But there's a lot of stuff flying around, guys, and I ain't reporting on it because, quite frankly, it's not true. Seriously, when I mentioned some of the names to my sources, they just laughed at me and said, "Apollo, really?" Because they know I know their finances. So it's just like, How could we, they looked at me and laughed at me and said, how could we even be in the hunt for this player when we can't spend any money this month? And
no, it's not that we can't spend any money. But if we make the sales, then we can. And it's not FFP; it's sustainability.
But
It's the
they're not
stuff
going
that
to sell
Everton
Smith
and
Rowe.
But then also, which
Yeah.
team are gonna deplete their team to bolster ours? I can't
Look.
see Arsenal buying anybody in January. It's not gonna happen.
no, we have to. If we
The
don't,
truth is,
done.
Aston Villa made a call about Smith Rowe this month. Crystal Palace have been on the phone to Arsenal 3
Nketiah.
times about Nketiah. They've been after him for 2 years. So the deals are there if we want to sell. But the problem is first of
who
all,
are we going to buy?
yes, that's the problem, because who's going to let their players go in jail? So Arteta, not so much Arteta, but Edu doesn't want to get caught with his pants down, because let's be fair, if you sell, look, I'm not so much Nelson and Smith Rowe because they're not even playing, but Eddie's playing a lot because we can't depend on Jesus and we can't depend on his injury record. So if you sell Eddie, who's your bona fide backup striker, what are you going to do?
Exactly.
You
And
know?
you and I, Apollo, have been his biggest amongst his biggest supporters.
We have, but the thing is, there's Trossard, yeah? So let's talk about the options. There's Trossard, who's been okay, but do you really want to depend on a 5'7" guy playing against 6'4" centre backs? It might work. We got away with it playing like Luton or whatever, but come on, yeah, that's not where you want him. You want him outside playing around the strikers so he can use his creativity. Do you want to depend on Havertz as a striker? Saw that last week.
No,
I prefer him as an advanced number 8. Yeah. We saw the strike experiment. No, thank you. I like him as an advanced 8. I like him as a pivot 8, but not as a number 9.
No.
No, that's a big no, guys. So the problem is, and you would normally bring, the 5 options of strikers is Nketiah, Trossard, Havertz, and Martinelli. So Martinelli's the 5th option. Would you?
But
want
we
him
haven't
as
even used
striker?
it once. We haven't even tried it once.
Yeah, that's
Martinelli
right.
would actually make a good striker.
Well,
I think
he's
so.
the 5th option, but the thing is, he's got his own problems on the left.
Yeah, he's
So,
having his own issues this season.
so he's having his own issues. So really, that's all I would say about the transfer stuff, guys. I mean, right now, as we sit, before we go in to look at the players' performance, right now, we've got a situation where the fans, I think, have gone all in that it's not working. But that's not true. It is working, guys. It's just the finishing is so poor.
No, Apollo, I'm not having
really-
that. Sorry, I'm not having that.
You can tell me what your thoughts is in a minute, yeah. But when you look at all of the creativity and everything else, it's there. It's like there in abundance. Like in the last 4 games, 76 shot and 18 on target.
Yeah, but it's about quality,
and then
not
you look at-
quantity.
No,
Quality.
You have your say in a minute, Alakanguna, yeah. But if you look at scoring problems, typically previously before, there's been none of that. There's been no shots, nothing on target, no secondary assists, none of that. But they're there. The numbers are there. We have something like a 6 xG, but only 1 goal. So we are underperforming at the clinical level, not at the build-up, not at the creative side. All of that is there. The numbers prove it. It's just that the guys are not putting the ball in the back of the net. That's what the problem is. It's got nothing to do with anything else. And even when I saw that 2 of the last 3 games, which are losses, the one against West Ham, and then the last loss that we had, Arsenal created, there should have been 2-0 or 3-0 up at half time. And I'm just thinking, what on earth is going on? I mean, Havertz, 5 chances for Havertz in the first half. 4 chances for Saka in the second half. And when you look at some of the missed chances, you're just like, what on earth? Odegaard hitting the woodwork, 2 or 3 times? So it's just the finishing. And on a different day, all those goals go in. And so I think a lot of it has definitely been overplayed in terms of where we are at the moment. Like it's really fallen apart. Like the bottom's just fallen out. And I don't think that that's true. Lafkuna, let me know your thoughts.
We won 1-7. Okay, first of all. The second thing is we've been seeing this issue since preseason in the US against Man U, where we couldn't create many chances. And I agree with the stats where it says we're creating chances, but 1, we're not creating good enough opportunities. We're creating ample amount of opportunities, but we're not creating good opportunities. Not like last season where we're like, one-on-ones. How many one-on-ones have we had this season? So the quality of chances are much, much lower. I think we're moving the ball way too slow. And for me, it's yeah, you can say like it's about clinical, but like we don't have a plan B. We want to keep playing the same way. It's like Wenger ball. We want to pass the ball into the net. It's so obvious that sometimes we need to change our tactics and start shooting from distance or going over the top or something else, and we don't have that. So for me, you're right. I don't think it's a crisis yet, but if we lose this weekend against Crystal Palace, it's a crisis. It's pretty much a crisis, and that's why I say if we don't sign someone, this season is a dud. Is a dud. People are scared about Porto, and I can see why, because Porto plays a low block and we can't get through a low block right now. So, hey, we might get through by 1-0, 2-0, 2-1, some small margin. But what if we get any of the big dogs, Bayern, Barca, etc., Real Madrid, Man City? Oh my God, like it's going to be panic station, and a couple more losses in the league and it's over, because Man City and Liverpool, we know they're going to they'll be faultless, right? And we know we are going to make mistakes. We know it. So that's how we are. And I just fear that at the end of the season, it's going to say, hey, Mikel Arteta was a one-season wonder. He had lots of money, 500 mil to spend. And what did he win? Just one FA Cup in 5 years. That's very concerning. And I'm Arteta in right now, of course. I think he's done a great job, but I think it's slowly turning back to the dark side. And we're a couple bad results away from a big divide in the fan base again, where people are going to be toxic. AFTV is going to be back to square one. I mean, not necessarily square one, because we have a much better team. I mean, the culture, there's a lot of improvements, but in terms of actually results and winning, not so much, right? I mean, we're going to finish the season with nothing, maybe third or fourth Champions League next season. Do we give Arteta more time? Do we give Arteta more money? It was obvious we needed a striker this summer. It was very obvious, either a striker or a midfielder. He took the chance and put a lot of faith in Partey, who got injured again. So that's another decision that he made. Even it's not Partey's fault that he got injured, and he doesn't want to be injured, obviously, right? So for me, I think we're underplaying it, Apollo. I think our chances have not been great chances. They've been okay, have decent chances. Yes, Saka's off form. Some of the shots against Liverpool, he should be finishing. Yes, Havertz should be scoring. I mean, let's not even talk about Havertz. He's passing it to their goalkeeper. He's not even shooting it. It just looks like a bum, to be honest.
Yeah.
Zero confidence, zero anything. Reece Nelson should have scored, but let's not talk about the Liverpool game. Let's talk about the last 3-4 games. Forget the last 3-4 games. Even when we were winning before, we were kind of getting by, and we were just saying, hey, it's okay. Declan Rice has come into the team. We've had some changes. No Partey, no Timber. It's going to take some time for our team to build that chemistry and start hitting the heights that we know we can hit. And dare I say, we miss Xhaka. We miss Xhaka because on that left-hand side, Martinelli's all by himself. He's out of form. He's getting double-teamed. No one's overlapping him. Ben White's not at the same level. Saka not at the same level. Jesus out. And Nketiah, when he's coming on, yeah, he scored that hat trick. But I mean, apart from that, he scored only 2 other goals. That's not enough for your backup striker or your supposedly main striker when Jesus is out. So we have a lot of problems all around the team. Saliba being really, really good. Gabriel being really, really good. And Declan Rice being the signing of the summer. Apart from that, we don't really have much in our team. Odegaard has been kind of hit and miss. Some games.
I disagree.
On the Odegaard part? Or
on the Odegaard part. Yeah.
He hasn't been as good as last season. I'm not saying he's bad, but last season he was a different player. We're playing way too slow. We play way too slow. By the time we want to attack, their whole defense is there because we're taking.
I think he's overplaying as well. He's definitely not at the level he was, but he's definitely doing his job. He's doing his job. It's the people in front of him that's not doing theirs. What's your thoughts, Ebony?
I think that because I've been speaking to Arsenal fans this week, and I just think that to have over 50 chances in 2 games and not put away 1, it is a travesty. And I don't know what's going on in training. We're not there. I would love to be a fly on the wall and see what's happening, but I don't know if it's a mentality problem. I don't know if they're tired. I don't know if the tactics are not right. I don't know if Arteta is underestimating teams. I don't know what it is, but to have that many chances and not put away 1 it's an issue. And to lose 3 games on the bounce as well. I mean, we just don't lose 3 games on the bounce.
It's been a long time.
Lose 1, draw 1, win 1. That's what we normally do, you know, and especially when the games are relatively close together.
Yeah.
I also think that Saka is looking tired. When I look at our team, we don't have that strength in depth as Liverpool do and as Man City do.
I think we do, but we just don't use it.
Not at the same level.
And my other issue is, it's like we have all these players on loan and we need them. You know, the one player that, you know, that I was talking about today, when I was at the gym today, you know, Ainsley Maitland-Niles, why did you let him go? He was
a quality right back, I'm not going to lie.
He was like a utility player, and you know he was there. You know, we used him, and then Arteta comes along and says you're not good enough. Tierney, he's on loan, our best left back since Ashley Cole. As I said earlier, Zinchenko is not a left back; he's more of a winger. All right,
Agreed.
so we're in trouble right now. I mean, I know there are Arsenal fans thinking, well, you know, it's only 3 games. No, it's not only 3 games. It's 6 points in the league and a cup that we've lost.
You should have won that Liverpool game.
Yeah, we destroyed them, but that's Liverpool. They're clinical.
We've not been clinical in the last 3 games. We've only got 2 competitions left. That's the league. We're winning that. There's a Champions League. I don't think we're winning that. And I just think that if we don't do anything, if we don't win at least 1 trophy this season, it has been a disaster. It's been a disaster. This season has been a disaster, and to think that, you know, we have so many players on loan, and they could have actually done a job for us. The fact that we have constantly injured players all the time. Partey's always injured. Jesus is always injured.
Vieira, Zinchenko.
Yeah, that's a lot of injuries, man. Yeah, it's a lot of injuries.
And when they are injured, they take forever and a day to recover. Now, why is that? You know, what is it about the? I mean, I'm not experienced in, you know, the medical side, but why is it that every single time one of our players gets injured, they take forever and a day to get, you know, to recover? If they go to another team, they recover quickly. And I think that with this team that we have, as good as it is, because I sense that a lot of Arsenal fans think that, you know, we're not good enough.
We are.
I just sense that I think we are, but we're not clinical. I just think that if Pep was in charge of this team, we'll be firing all cylinders. I just think that sometimes Arteta's decision making, his game plan, is just off.
So a question for both of you. Don't you think Arteta has realized this, and at some point he has to change his tactics? Like, my only concern is that he's smart enough. He knows what's wrong. He should have already changed something. Like the fact that we don't shoot from outside the box, apart from Declan Rice, by the way. If you watch the game in the last 10 to 15 minutes, he starts taking it on his own. You start seeing him carry the ball a bit more, and he starts taking shots from distance. But nobody else in our team is figuring that out.
Yeah. I want to say something on that. So, as you know, we're here every week and we talk about the game. We analyze everything, and he is changing stuff. But my issue is he's not changing enough, and that's down to the personnel. The problem when things are working well is you like to keep some kind of consistency, but when they're not working well, you then have to try and go with the hot hand. And let's take for instance, we saw Ben White wasn't delivering. Tomiyasu came and took that position, and then Zinchenko got injured, which meant he had to play Zinchenko on that side and bring Ben White back into the team. Ben White was actually dropped, but he's found himself playing, and he's playing at the same poor level that he's been playing with all season. That's number one. Number two, against West Ham, we saw that the single pivot wasn't working because of West Ham's game plan against Rice. Instead of bringing Jorginho on in the double pivot, he puts Ben White there. I was screaming my head off. I was like, no, you have to put Jorginho in there. Okay, we lost the game. What did Arteta do the next game? Exactly what I said he should do. He played in a double pivot with Jorginho and
Rice.
and Declan Rice. then the game after, when we weren't finding anybody who was scoring, we wasn't getting goals from anymore. What does he do?
He put Havertz up top.
Yeah, put Havertz up top. Starts reading out. So let's not kid ourselves and say he's not doing anything. He is. But in this process right now, you have to keep going with and find a hot head. There's been no Smith Rowe, which is very disappointing, because Smith Rowe is a guy who can come in. He was actually 2 years ago alternating that left position with Martinelli, and Martinelli won that battle. That's why Martinelli's playing there, because he beat out Smith Rowe. But in 18 games, and Martinelli's got 2 goals, and you've not even given Smith Rowe a chance.
He doesn't rate him. Since even last year, at the end of last year, when he came back from his injury, I was waiting every game, waiting. Yeah. And then I realized, okay, no, it's not happening.
So that is a fail on Arteta's side. So I just want to make a point that, there's things that he's been doing to change stuff, but it's not enough. When he put Havertz on up top in the last game, I thought that was a huge mistake. Why? Because Eddie scored 5 goals in his first 9 starts. Didn't start again for another 9 games, or actually another 10 games.
And that's basically, what's he doing? You said,
how that impacts is Eddie's 23 going 24. Eddie's like most players, inconsistent, but also a good performer. Where Eddie is not performing is when he comes off the bench. He's not a great impact player. Eddie needs to feel himself throughout a game. And also, his away form. Eddie's just got a poor scoring away record. It is what it is. As much as I love the player, he's just not as clinical away from home. But where he is he's dynamite at home. 17 goals in his last 22 starts is absolutely electric and cannot be questioned. So in the last game, what does Arteta do? He drops Eddie on the bench when Jesus is injured and plays Havertz up top. You've got a guy in Eddie who's just, his last game at home, he scored a hat-trick. Hadn't started for 9 games, and then just.
That's why I asked the question: what's in his head? What is in this guy's head? How are you not playing Eddie? And I've always said, and Apollo, you know, I am a big defender of Eddie Nketiah. I've said all the time that when you put Eddie on, he does a job. He's not everybody's cup of tea, but when you put him on, whether he's an impact player or not, when he has deputized for Jesus, he has done a job. How the hell are you going to put? How the hell do you come to the conclusion, or does he come to the conclusion?
That was the wrong decision to play Havertz up top in the last game. It was the wrong decision.
But if he scored those chances, we wouldn't be saying it. It's funny because if he's got any of those chances, is like a complete different story.
And you know what, Lafkin Guna, I'm glad you mentioned that, because in Havertz's defense, he was actually in those positions.
Right positions,
score. That's the thing. Like, my one criticism of Jesus is he spends too much time dropping into the midfield. So
Lacazette, we had the same issue with Lacazette.
Yeah. So when you're looking for someone up the top, you're like, the ball goes in, you're like, where's Jesus? Oh, Jesus is not even in the penalty area. And that's the frustration I have with Jesus. Is like, and that's why I don't want him to play there. And people think I don't like him. I love the player, but put him in a position like an 8 or out where Martinelli's not performing, put him out left. He scored 94 goals in 230 games for Man City playing on the left. Don't play him up top. If it was down to me, I would put Eddie up top, Jesus on the left, and then I would integrate it from there. Because if there's one thing we do is Martinelli can impact the game as an impact play. He does play really well coming off the bench. So does Trossard. This whole thing just needs to be rethinked.
So many points in my head that I'm holding on to. Okay, so the first one is, you mentioned personnel change. Cool, I'm not denying that. 1, we know that the personnel isn't good enough. 2, sometimes the personnel is not what I'm necessarily talking about. I'm talking about the tactics in the game. Like, I think in training, Arteta should be saying, let's practice this whole week. Everybody shoot from outside the box, or like we're not changing the tactics in game for me. The other point about, bringing Eddie Nketiah and Smith Rowe on the 88th minute against Liverpool, hilarious. What do you expect? Like, what are you expecting in 2-3 minutes, right? So completely wrong. In terms of the Nketiah stuff, he scored a hat-trick. That's 3 goals. The other 2 goals he scored, you know what I mean? It's not like he scored in 5 separate games. And look, he's changed my opinion. Like, I used to be completely against him. Now I'm like, cool, he could be in the squad because I can see him doing a job.
He's a great squad player. Do you want Eddie to start? Probably not. But do you
No,
want him
probably
to be in
not.
the
But in a
squad? Of
squad,
course.
yeah, sure,
Yeah.
absolutely. The problem is that he's been like sometimes he's not in the game, and when he's not in the game at all, then it's like, oh man, okay, well, it's not him. He can't do it, right? So that's my issue with Nketiah. In terms of Liverpool, I 100% expected Nketiah to start. I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't think Havertz was gonna start as striker. So I even myself was surprised because I thought Nketiah should have started that game. But I know, when we're talking about 0 goals away from home, even your second striker, you can't have that, right? Like, look at Julian Alvarez, right, for Man City. He's not even playing striker; he's playing midfield, and the guy scored 9 goals, 6 assists. Like, he's putting up big numbers, and we don't have anyone that's doing that. In terms of Trossard, I think Arteta's killed Trossard because Trossard in preseason he was on fire. He was on fire. Then the beginning of the season he was completely on fire, and we completely just ice cold.
So I'm going to defend Arteta on that one because I feel you. I love Trossard, but the problem is when he comes off the bench and he's electric and then you start him, he doesn't do well. And
but Apollo, think about it. He's been removed. He was on fire. Think about a player. He's on fire. He's on fire. He's on fire. Then he's not getting any game time. One, he probably lost motivation, right? In the beginning when he first signed for us, he was excited. He was having issues at Brighton. He was scoring. He was in a new, fresh team that was creating so many chances, that was scoring goals, that was going for maybe that all has died down, right? It's like when you start a new job, everything is like, up here, and then slowly as time goes by, it starts coming down. And I think also because we haven't used him and stuff, maybe he's like, what? Like Smith Rowe and stuff, I'm sure they're all dejected. He's probably also thinking, I'm never going to get a real shot here. Like, I was so on fire. I was scoring goals. I was assisting, and I can't even get a start or get on the team. So I don't know. I don't really know what to say about Trossard, but I think it's also hasn't been, he's off form, and I think that's partially due to Arteta. And the last point about Martinelli and Jesus, I agree with you. I think Jesus is dropping deep too much. But instead of moving him to the left, we should let them rotate and interchange. We were doing that last week.
Yes.
So that way you get Martinelli playing in striker, and then you have Jesus at left wing. I still remember the goal he scored against Leicester, right? Where he scored in a beautiful goal from the left wing position. So that was because they were interchanging between Jesus and Martinelli. We don't see that anymore, right? So lots of issues in our team.
So the one thing I had a picture up where I showed you Odegaard
2 seasons ago, by the way.
That's right. Yeah, 2 seasons ago. And last season was dynamic, so I didn't want to show his numbers because he matched Frank Lampard and Cesc Fabregas's attacking midfield record with 15 goals.
Yeah, non-penalty goals.
Yeah. But what I wanted to obviously talk about is in terms of what's going on with him this season, which is why, I think if you ask the average fan, they'll say, he's been really poor this season. And actually, that can't be far from the truth. Because when you look at his job, what's his job? His job is to create. And when you look at the amount of chances that Arsenal have had, and it's a buttload of chances, if players can't finish, that's not his fault. That's not Odegaard's fault. And so this season so far, let's have a look at it, yeah? His passes leading to a shot, 72. That's top in the Premier League. There's no other player in the Premier League that's created more shot chances than Martin Odegaard. Secondary shot assists. So that means when you play a ball into a spot, and then one of your wing backs plays the ball into the middle, which creates as a chance. He's done that. So he's been using
the Ozil pass.
Yeah.
The pre-assist.
So that's 41 of those. Again, number 1 in the Premier League. Shot sequences that he's been featured in is 109, which is 3rd in the league. Top 3 in the league. And carries, dribbles that end in a shot, 14, which is also 3rd. But here's the biggest joke. And this is why I mentioned the 72 shots and 18 on target and only a couple of goals in the last 4 games. Because carries ending in a goal or assist, 56. That's among the lowest in the league. So he's doing all this work and his forwards are doing nothing. That's where this guy is. So when people turn around and say to me, Odegaard's been crap this season, I'm not buying that. Because what...
He's carried the team, though, at times.
Yeah, exactly. But as a captain, I'm doing my job. I'm pulling this whole thing together. I'm putting you in a position to score goals or do something, create some magic, and it's not getting done. If I'm the manager and I'm looking at my captain doing this, I'm patting him on the back saying, you're doing as much as you can. Don't put your head down. Lift yourself up. The team needs you to be doing this. Because when those guys get it right, it's going to be because of the likes of you. If you're not doing this, then we don't have a chance. That's the thing, the message I think Arteta is giving his captain right now. The African Guna?
Couple of points, right? The fact that last sentence that you said is like, it rings a bell in my head, because we shouldn't be depending on only one player, right? That's a big problem and a red flag for me. Yeah, cool. If Odegaard isn't doing it, there needs to be somebody else in that midfield. That's the left 8 position. If the right isn't doing it,
in inverted,
no,
but he's not been there because he's injured.
Who's Havertz is playing in that 8. Whether it's Smith Rowe, whoever it is, we need more output from that position if Odegaard is not producing. The second thing is, I don't think Odegaard is having a bad season. I think there's just some games where I think he's doing too much. He's doing way too much. He's trying to do everything, you know, and he's dribbling, trying to make the pass the ball through the legs. Like, you know, sometimes he's trying too much for me. He has too much responsibility. And that's why I'm a little bit frustrated with him. And the last point is like, okay, carries ending in a goal or assist 0. Does that mean that the passes leading to a shot where he's first, those passes, again, I'm talking about quality over quantity. Again, I'm not seeing Odegaard really put any of our players one-on-one. Yeah, maybe he's putting in Saka, who cuts in.
I'm seeing that a lot.
No, not like last season. I'm telling you, from my eyes, I'm not seeing us create like deadly, like 2-on-1. You just pass and it's like the chances we're creating are not really high-end chances for me where it's a high chance of scoring. Maybe sometimes yes, but not enough for me. You know, Man City, you put the ball in the back, Haaland is just there, tap in. We don't have many tap-ins. How many tap-in goals do we have? Even Nketiah has had to work for his goals. You know, his hat-trick, he's scoring from distance, right? So that's what I mean.
I want to pick this point up as well, and this is something which, again, has been a point that's overplayed. He scored 4 goals this season. The average among attacking midfielders in the Premier League is 8 in a season, 7, 8, 9 goals in a season. So he's actually on course to hit that. So I know last season's numbers were great, but they were magical. They were record-breaking. You're not going to do that every season. Just in terms of Arsenal broke a franchise record with 88 goals. You're not going to do that every season. We've been playing football with this club for over 90 years. You're not every season going to go and break your record. So last season's standards, yes, they were hugely, massively high. But this season, don't make no bones about it, he's actually on course to get up there with the league's average. If he scores another 5-6 goals this season, that puts him in double figures. And he can easily do that. Like I said, he's hit the woodwork 3 times in those last 4 games. So he'll continue to thrive. I just want to make the point that don't let this guy's levels drop, because we depend so much on what this guy's doing in the club. And as the African Guna said, that figure there, carries ending in goals or assists, is 0. We are not giving this guy his flowers as far as the players goes. They are just absolutely, their performances is just, you know, this guy, imagine how much assists that he would have had. It's shocking, the level of play from our forwards, and it's just not acceptable. It's not acceptable, guys. It just isn't. Guys, I did want to. Shall we speed through the ratings, because I don't want to keep you guys too long. We've got 12 minutes to make an hour, so let's see if we can do this. So, guys, I've done my half seasons ratings. I don't want to really sort of play on it too much. Where am I? So I'm just going to say for Raya. I think for the guy who led the league in saves last season, he's way down here. It was 77.9 save percentage, and he's like 61%. He's way down.
We conceded almost every game.
Yeah, he's down. Rubbish. So he needs to. Well, he isn't, because over the last few years he's been the best save percentage.
No, he's not rubbish, but yeah,
but it's just this season, Ebony.
He's not Ramsdale quality.
Yeah, no, I don't know if it's about the quality or the emotional connection that we have.
No, it's not even about the emotional connection. If you actually look at Ramsdale and you look at his goalkeeping and his saving and his positioning and his marshalling of the back, Raya to me doesn't do that.
I agree. I think Ramsdale. I think Ramsdale's used to being a center of attention. One, he loves to make jokes with opposition fans. Is it the character,
but
right?
but also, let's not get it twisted. Ramsdale makes a lot of mistakes, way more
It does.
than
he
Raya.
has.
And not just that, but his distribution. We saw him play a lovely ball to Reece Nelson the last game, but we haven't seen that from him. Last season, he done that 38 times. Raya done that 118 times, which led the league. So that's the reason why Ray is in there at number 1, is because he's bona fide produced better football in terms of that position. But the problem, I think, and we can talk about both goalkeepers, goalies until we're blue in the face. The problem, I think, has been exacerbated by the competition that they have now. I think it's blitzed out both of them. I think both of their forms are suffering from the fact that they're in this position right now. And unless Ramsdale gets sold or is moved on, or Ramsdale comes back into the number 1 spot, and I don't think that's really going to solve anything, because wouldn't it be funny if Ramsdale gets number 1 spot and then Arsenal turn around to Brentford and say, actually, after the year loan, we're not going to give you the 27 million. You can keep him. Bye, thanks. But we've decided
we should really do that and just go buy an average keeper. I swear, like strategically, we need that money spent somewhere else. We really do.
So for me, guys, but I do like the fact that Raya gets off his line way faster than Ramsdale. Again, in the Liverpool game, the West Ham game, we saw 3 instances where they had long balls over, which were created one-on-ones for them and the goalie. But what happened? Raya was right there at the edge of the penalty area to take that option away from them. So, look, he's only been slightly better, in my opinion. But 6.5 for him and 6 for Ramsdale, neither is good enough, guys. They're not, both of them. People choosing one or the other. Both of them are not being good enough, in my opinion. Ben White, I'm not going to go into him because I've had my say on him over the last weeks. He's been an absolute car crash this season. I'm a big Ben White fan, but his levels, his aggression has just gone. He's sitting far too off, giving too much space, and he's getting torched every single week. Not good enough. Saliba and Gabriel, guys, I'm going to give them a 9. I think they've been fantastic, both of them, this season. I just think that they've been elite. 2 games ago was leading the best defenses in the league, and we've just capitulated through no fault of their own, to be honest. But for the half a season, I have to grade them highly. Kvyat is a 4 because his position is centre-back. They put him in a left-back position, which is not his position, and he's just not look good enough. Zinchenko, he's struggled simply because he's been under so much pressure. He's not had the protection from Xhaka, and he's been isolated in those scenarios. The goal that he let in against Salah last season, Xhaka would have been there supporting him in that. And at times, Martinelli ran back and supported him in that position as well, but neither is happening this season. And he's been out on an island. He's just been poor. He's been average. And that's why I didn't give him a 4, because I thought he's been average. He's still going and in terms of offensively maintaining the structure of the game's tempo, but when he's not there, we sorely miss him. Timber, not going to grade him because he's not played. Suarez only played in that 1 game, didn't he? I'm just trying to think now. It was against PSV, and he looked good. I'm not going to lie. Suarez has always been a steady player, guys, but he's only played that 1 game. Tomiyasu, I'm going to give it 8. He has been lights out. Tomiyasu's been locked down corner, man. He's been a lockdown corner, and it's a real shame about the injury.
Yeah.
It's been a real shame, but he's been a lockdown corner. Life and Kaguna, where would you go? I'm kind of speed rushing through this because I don't.
No, I'll do the same. I agree, Raya. I think is a fair 6.5. I think I was expecting much more saves from him in general. His distribution supposedly is really good, but as we said, the pass that Ramsdale made, I haven't seen Raya put any of our players one-on-one. He's had one nice pass to Martinelli in one of the games, but it's not happening enough for me. Don't think the improvement is enough for us to spend the money that we're supposedly sending. And I recently just saw him last Friday, and he didn't look like he gave 2 Fs about being there or saying hi to the fans or anything. So I don't think he has that connection with Arsenal that Ramsdale does. Ramsdale, I have to give a 6 as well. I think that's a fair rating. He hasn't played much. I think it's been really hard done the way things have transpired for him, and I think we've killed his market value. He probably was like a 50 million goalkeeper before we signed Raya, and now we probably just break even if we were to sell him, to be quite honest. Ben White, I think 3 is harsh. I'm gonna give him a 3.5 or 4 because I think he's carrying a knock. I don't think he's been as good as he had, obviously, last season. I don't know if that's because of the injury, or if the injury is just one of those things that the club is putting out to kind of save his face and save his reputation because he's being so bad. But I also think we don't have anything else behind him. So it's also a bit tough for Arteta because what is he supposed to do? He has to keep playing him because we don't have anything else. We've just been so badly done with injuries. So yeah, Saliba 9, have to give a 9. He's been absolutely phenomenal. Some of the tackles he's made in the season against IU, there's so many we can really pull out. Some that we thought just really, I haven't seen any defender pull some of the moves that he has. Even on the ball, he's been really good, getting out of situations, really patient, really calm. You don't see players like this, and my fear is that Madrid or any of the top tier teams are going to come calling for Saliba in 2-3 years if we don't win any of the major honors, even though he signed a new contract, etc. We know how it goes, and I really don't want to get back into that cycle where we have to sell our best players because they don't feel like we have the ambition that they have, or we're not matching it. So Saliba 9, Gabriel 9. I think he's been a bit shaky sometimes, recently he's been a bit more shaky than in the past. Not sure why that is. I don't think he's at the highest form he's been in. But he's still been super solid. I think, obviously, the partnership that him and Saliba have, definitely top 3 in the world, for sure. I mean, that's not even a debate. Kiwior, I'm giving a 2. I mean, really, what is he in this team for? I know it's a bit harsh, but let's take this example, Ebony. Ben White plays right back, and he's not a right back, and he's solid. And when we play Kiwior at left back, apparently this guy broke records for being the fastest guy in the team, breaking Theo Walcott and Chamberlain. Like, this guy's slow. He's so slow, and he's not good. Look, maybe he's young and he's not supposed to play left back, and he's just a center back. But I don't know. Maybe money that wasn't well spent. Zinchenko, I'm gonna give 4.5. I think 5 is nice. He's cost us a majority of the games we've lost is because he's made a mistake. I think I agree with Ebony. He's 100% not a defender. Actually, recently
he's been at fault for 3 goals. Ben White at fault for 4 goals.
Terrible. So when Zinchenko isn't on the game, and the tactics to get Zinchenko in the game and give us that one-man advantage in midfield doesn't work, we get killed. And it's very obvious. If I'm any team, I'm targeting Arsenal's left side because that's the weakest side, because of Zinchenko, because we know he's leaving that space empty. So I think one of the thoughts that I've had recently when I've been here in Dubai is, watching the games and losing, specifically about Jesus and Zinchenko, I see why Guardiola sold them. They're not at that, they were at the level to make us compete, but they're not at the level to get us to win. That's the difference.
Well, we need more. Yeah, obviously City had more, but we need more.
Yeah, no, of course. That's why I think Man City were happy to let go of them. Timber, NA, but I mean, if we just take preseason in his first game, I give him an 8. I was so excited for him. It was such a detrimental injury, and I'm so excited for him to come back because I really think that's going to change some of the dynamic. Him and Partey, when they come back, it's going to be like a new team. So, but I still think he needs another signing, but I'm excited for them to come back. Suarez, I give a 0. How dare you give him a 5? This MF, you know what I'm trying to say? He shouldn't be at this club. Seriously.
Yeah, he shouldn't be here. Yeah, shouldn't be here.
I literally just read that he's being sold, and I'd give him away for free. The fact that he still is employed by Arsenal is a disgrace. Him and El Neni. And I like El Neni because he's professional. He's cool. He's done a good job for us. He's been here for 7-8 years. Okay, cool. But time to move on. We're not a sentimental club. Like, these guys have been milching and mooching off of us for years. Get rid of them. They're making 0 impact. Arteta doesn't trust them to even bring them on. So why are we wasting space on the bench for these guys that we're never going to use and actually are not good enough to make an impact? Tomiyasu, I give an 8 as well. He's been absolutely phenomenal. He's just been really unlucky with the injuries, but he's probably been up there with Saliba and Gabriel. I probably would have given him a 9 if he didn't get injured and he was playing every game. Because
exactly.
That's how. And when we didn't have him against Salah, against Liverpool, I was very nervous because he put Salah in his pocket, right? He wins, from the moment that he came to the club, we noticed immediately the amount of aerial balls that he was winning with headers. And that was a big difference for us because we never had that in our team. We always had Bellerin or, just weak.
We're a very physical team now,
No,
with
absolutely.
Odegaard, Declan Rice, Havertz. Tomiyasu, we're a very physical team
You
right
forgot
now.
you forgot to put Havertz in here, and Odegaard isn't in here either.
No, because this is
But-
defenders.
oh, yeah. Okay, so are you gonna move to that, or should I
Yeah,
go through all
I
of it
am.
now?
No,
Okay, cool.
I just.
Anthony can
Ebony,
go.
what's your quick thoughts on this before I move on to midfield?
Okay, very quickly, because I've got to leave at 10. But anyway, Raya, 4. Sorry. I've already expressed my feelings on him. Not good enough. Send his derriere back to Brentford. I don't care about his stats. In an Arsenal shirt, he has been abysmal. Ramsdale, I'll give him a 6. I think his confidence has been shot thanks to Mr. Arteta. Ben White, but he's still our number one goalkeeper as far as I'm concerned, and he'll always be that person to go to. Yes, he makes mistakes, but at the end of the day, he's been our best goalkeeper since Lehmann. Ben White, I've been disappointed in his performances. I'm going to give him a 4. He's not been at the races. The pairing of Saliba and Gabriel, I give him a 10. They have been absolute dynamite as far as I'm concerned in that centre back. Kivior, I give a 3. Not good enough at left back. Zinchenko, I give him a 4. He's been absolutely abysmal this half of the season. Timber, when he does play, I give him an 8. But I'm going to also mark him as non-applicable. Suarez, 5. Okay, he's looked good in the last game, but he's not done enough for me. And Tomiyasu, I give a 9.
Right, guys. So let's move on to midfield now. This is where things get a bit juicy. Now, Jorginho, look, I'm just going to put my cards on the table. I don't think he's anywhere near the same player as what he was in the last half of last season. He's definitely lost a step. That being said, he still brings a lot of stability in our play, in our general play. Yes, he's been caught out a couple of times. Remember Fulham when he let the goal in, we made the mistake and lost the ball, and then they equalised. But from a general consensus, he adds stability to the team, and that's why I was calling for him to do the double pivot. Because if Partey's not there, this guy can do it last time. Last season, when Partey got injured and his form dropped, this guy came in and we didn't even miss Partey. That's how important it was. I don't think he's that at that place yet, simply because he's good with the ball in terms of control, transition, and things like that. But his recoveries and tackling is poor. It's below average. So when you're looking for him to do all the stability stuff, it works. But as soon as your back's up against the wall, he's not the type of player that's gonna do anything for you. So I'm gonna give him a 6.5. Declan Rice has completely transformed Arsenal's midfield. And it's just a shame that you've never seen Rice, Partey, and Odegaard play together, because for me, if that was the case, Arsenal would be walking this title. They would be walking it. There's not a team in the league, in my opinion, that would be able to touch them. They'd have the best defensive midfielder, tackles, recoveries in Declan Rice. They'd have the best number 8 or in terms of Thomas Partey, who can transition into attack and not lose the ball. And then they'd had Odegaard. Odegaard wouldn't be put in these performances where he's all over the place and he's overplaying the game, because he would have had the stability around him. There's just no stability around Odegaard at the moment. None. And so, yes, he's overplaying the ball. But for me, Rice, 9.5. The only reason why I haven't given him a 10 is because I don't think he's been very good over the last 3 games or so. But realistically, in anyone's mind, he probably deserves a 10. Especially when you look at him, tackles, recoveries, number 1 in the Premier League. He's and he has been for years before. He's doing exactly what we thought he was going to do. Come in here, interceptions, tackles, recoveries, just dominating the midfield. Yeah. Odegaard, 7.5, guys. And for all the reasons that I showed you on the stat sheet, he's doing his job. El Nene, 4, and he's only played a couple of games in relief roles, but I'm just glad he's playing. I just wish that maybe he was playing a little bit more. It really depends on his stamina, which I hear is not that great at the moment. But he's currently playing in African Nations Cup. Havertz, I'm going to give a 7. So far, Havertz, I think he's done really well. Offensively, I think he's been average, although he has got 4 goals. Second half of the season, if he gets another 4 or 5 goals, that'll beat Xhaka. That'll beat what Xhaka. And people said Xhaka had a brilliant season last season. So if this guy comes in at the number 8 role and gets more goals than Xhaka, how is that not a good thing? But what Xhaka wasn't doing last season was the amount of tackles and recoveries this guy has, second on the team with Declan Rice. He's been phenomenal in a defensive role. And quite frankly, he doesn't get hardly any credit for that from any Arsenal fans for his defensive work alongside Declan Rice. He has been fantastic as a holding 8. As an advanced 8, we've only played them in a few games as an advanced rate, and in advanced 8, and then the goals started pouring in. It was like, what is going on here? He had something like 3 goals in his last 4 appearances in an advanced 8 role. So Arteta knows in that number 8 role, he's good defensively. He can produce offensively, depending on how he plays him. Fabio Vieira, he gets a 6. Again, injury kind of hurts that score, but he can do it. He's been well adapted in this system and formation. Smith Rowe, I'm going to give a 5, just really hasn't played enough. Partey, nothing there. The African Guna?
Can you go to Ebony first for a second?
Yeah, Ebony, your thoughts?
Okay, because I'm about to be relieved. Right, Jorginho, I think it's because I think his age is not on his side anymore. He's not as fast as he was. He's not the impactful player that he was at Chelsea. So I'm giving him a 5. Declan Rice, he has been a bit off the boil recently for me, but I still give him a 9 because he's been our best midfielder. Ødegaard, yes, he's created chances. Yes, he's hit the post a few times, but he's still creating those chances. He's still that linchpin. So I'm going to give him a 9 as well. Elneny, just simple things really with him. But then at the end of the day, sometimes, the simple things in life is, what we need. And, he's not a lavish player. He's, just simple passes, but he has actually been going forward of late. So I'll give him a 6. Havertz, I'm not his biggest fan. Yes, all right, he's putting some defensive work, but there's just something about Havertz that I'm just not connecting with. I'll give him a 6. Vieira, 6. Smith Rowe, he treated really badly as far as I'm concerned, and Arteta needs to actually get his finger out and start putting Smith Rowe back in the team. I'm going to give Smith Rowe a 5 only because he has not been playing, and that is down to the manager. Partey, when he has played, I've given him 7s, but I can understand they're not applicable because he's always injured. So from what I've seen prior to injury, give him a 7. But yeah.
Okay, African Guna.
I need 1 more second. Sorry.
No problem. Let's go into the comments.
No, I'm ready.
So hold on. Hold on. Let's just go through these comments first because these guys have been waiting quite a while. This is Gary. Oh, Gary. Gary, who's normally one of our panelists, he's given Ray a 5, Ramsdale a 6, White a 3, Saliba a 9, Gabriel a 9, Kivior a 4, Zinchenko a 3. He's given Rice a 10, Jorginho a 5, Ødegaard 6, and then Havertz a 8, Vieira a 3, Smith Rowe 3, and we're coming on to strikers in a minute, so I'll do that for the strikers. I think Bertram's given Declan Rice a 9.5. I think he's given. I don't see any defensive scores for Bertram, but he's given Jorginho 6. Oh, he's given Rice an 8. Sorry, Ødegaard 6. Havertz a 5, Vieira a 5. Okay, right. African Guna.
Cool. Sorry, guys. Just saw some pictures of Timber training today, so I was just involved with that. But my midfield ratings: Jorginho hasn't been used too much this season, which I wasn't expecting him to. He did make 1 mistake against Spurs, which I still didn't forget. So I'm gonna give him a 6. I think Rice has been a 9.5. Absolutely been phenomenal signing. He shows a lot of leadership qualities. He's so good on the ball. Some of the moves he's made in some of the games, by the byline where he keeps the ball. I know a lot of players probably wouldn't be able to pull some of that off. I love it when he drives with the ball. I really want to see him do more of that, and I want him to shoot more from distance because I think he has it in his locker. I just think he's been instructed maybe not to go forward as much. And I agree with Apollo. I think when Partey is back, it's going to unleash him, and the chemistry that he's going to build with Martinelli on that left-hand side. We saw glimpses of it in the first few games. It's going to be absolutely incredible. So really looking forward to that. The only thing I'm going to say about Rice is that I think, even though I agree that he's a 9.5 and he's been absolutely amazing for us, I think he's slowed down the tempo in the team. Not necessarily his fault. I'm not blaming him. I just think that's something that has changed drastically. And I think if you look at the way the ball moves in the team, so like where the passes are going, right? Where's the ball going, the passing lanes, etc., you can see that a lot of the times Declan Rice is the one who's getting the ball, and he's playing it sideways, sometimes backwards, sometimes not forward enough. So that would be only my minor critique about Rice. Odegaard, I think I agree, 7.5. The shot that he hit the bar against Liverpool, I think that he shouldn't have blasted it. He just needed to place it, and I still think his shooting has been really good last season, but I still think he has still a long way to go for me in terms of shooting and free kicks. We don't have any player in our team, since Sanchez, Ozil, Cazorla, since then we really haven't had any decisive free kick takers that are scoring free kicks. And that's something we need to add to our game, right? And that's something I'm looking at Odegaard to be doing, and I don't think he's doing it enough. And I think he still needs to be better in his decision making of when to shoot and when to just lay it off. I think he needs to take much more shots on for me. Elneny, I'm going to give a 0 as well. I think, or 1, 1, not as bad as Cedric, but again, like, what really is he doing here? He's playing in the African Cup of Nations. I think we're probably going to end up selling him to Galatasaray, some Turkish team or something. I mean, he's really not played. Has he played one game? I think he played one game this entire first half of the season. And Arteta's never going to look at him and bring him on to change the game or anything, right? Jorginho's there, Fabio Vieira. We have so many more options. So I think, thanks for the memories, but hasta la vista. Havertz 7, that is high. That is high, Apollo. That's high. I was with you. I was backing him because I think Arteta deserved the trust. When he signed him, whenever we sign someone, I'm looking kind of at it from a blank sheet of paper. I trust. I gave him some trust. I gave him some faith. I gave him some time. It's been some time, and I'm kind of now coming up to the conclusion that, hey, you know what? We wasted 65 million. Maybe he can play a role in the squad, but he isn't what we needed or what impact I was looking for, from his position. So I'm going to give him 6. Vieira, I'm going to give a 4. I think he's been injured, right? He had to get surgery. He had a kid as well, a baby boy. So he really hasn't been involved in the team much. I'm still undecided on Vieira. I think he was a dud last season because I think he was too skinny for me. He didn't have the decision making. He was still very, very raw. But I still don't think I can really even make any call on Vieira because I haven't seen enough of him. He was good in preseason. He started off the season really well. So I was excited for this to be a season where we got to see more of him, see what he could do, because his compilations from Porto, I mean, that half ball cross that he has, he's not one of those like Saka and Martinelli that go all the way to the wing and cross it. He just basically crosses it from anywhere. And I think we don't have that in our team. No one else in our team really does that. So, yeah, unfortunate. Hopefully we see him in the next month and he can have some sort of impact in our team. Smith Rowe, I'm going to give him a 5. I feel really bad for him. We were singing Saka and Emil Smith Rowe 2 seasons ago, and now he can't even get onto the pitch. I think he definitely could be adding a lot to this team in many situations where we're looking for impact. I think Vieira is kind of bumped up over him in terms of the squad and playing time. So quite unfortunate for Smith Rowe. I'd sell him. Aston Villa, as you said, are looking for him. They're looking to buy him for 25 million. At this point, I would just sell and wish him the best of luck because I think he deserves to be playing. And if he's not getting that at Arsenal, which he isn't, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon because it would have already happened by now. It's been over a year. Then good luck to him and wishing him the best at whatever club he goes to. He's been a good servant for Arsenal, and he probably he's going to be like a Serge Gnabry, and 5 years down the line, we're going to say, hey, you know what, Smith Rowe, he was a good player. We should have kept him. Partey, yeah, man, this
That's gonna
injury.
piss a lot of people off.
I'm sure you guys know AFTV Belgium. Belgium. He's a Ghana. He's from Ghana. He's originally from Ghana, so he loves Thomas Partey. And recently was on a podcast with him last week or a couple of days ago, and he was defending Partey to the core. And I told him, look, no
He was
one's
our best
arguing with
player last season, in my opinion.
no one's arguing. We know that Thomas Partey is an incredible player. He brings something to the team that no one else does. You know that move that Gabriel Jesus did to put Martinelli through? That's Thomas Partey's move. And he's not even supposed to be a flary player. He just has that in his locker, right? When he takes 2-3 players out the game with that cut move, and then he plays the ball indecisive.
Should we have sold him in the summer?
No.
Yes, I was because I knew that he was going to get injured. And I'm not saying that now because of whatever. I think at the time, if really Saudi Arabia was offering that 40 million that was being rumored, it was a no-brainer because that's what we paid for him, and he's coming to the end, and he's been more than 60% of the games he's missed. And I love him, as I said, but we have to be realistic. We need players, especially as important as Partey in our team, to be available. And if they're not available, it's a big problem for us. We're suffering a lot because of his injuries, and I think it's just time to move on and get someone who can actually play every game. Get that partner for Rice. Maybe that's Amadou Onana. I think he could play a Partey role. Definitely not nearly as good, but he's kind of that player. He can go forward. He wins tackles. He's a long distance runner. He has an engine. He has some skills. I mean, maybe he would be a decent signing, and that would let Rice kind of be, play further up front, or Declan Rice can play his position. He likes the 6. We know Declan Rice likes the 6. He doesn't really want to be playing the 8, but he can play. He can play it if Arteta asks him to, right? So maybe Onana comes in and plays the 8, and then Rice plays his comfortable position in the 6. But yeah, I think we can rate Partey because he played like 1 game, 2 games. And by the way, the games that he played, we haven't lost, right? He played the Community Shield against Man City, where we completely got owned and then scored a deflected goal. By the way, the only way we've beaten Man City in any of the games in the last 8-9 years is through deflected goals. I think a lot of people don't talk about that. We need to score a real goal against Man City when they come, or when we go to the Etihad. We need to score a real goal against Man City. I'll take those wins because we are starving, but I want to see a real goal against them. So hopefully Partey is back in the next 2 weeks.
So guys, let's move on to the forwards. So the half-season forwards grades are on the field here. Let me just go through and see what our guys are saying. Where are we? Gary's gone for Jesus 4, Saka 7. That's a bit low on Saka from what he's produced. Martinelli 3, Eddie 7, and Trossard 6. G has gone for Jesus 4, Saka 8, Martinelli 2, Eddie 7, Trossard 6.5. Is there any more for the forwards here? But I do want to go Damien. Damien, shout out to him. Damien has sent he's gone Raya 6, Rambo 6, White 7. That's high for White. Saliba 9, Gabriel 9, Kivior 5, Zinchenko 6, Rice 9, Odegaard 7, El Nene 4, Havertz 7, Vieira 5, Smith Rowe 5, Partey 5, Martinelli 6, Saka 8, Jesus 7, Eddie 7, Nelson 6, and Trossard 6. Pretty much balanced views there. What's this? Cam says Odegaard is the only player with more than 150 key passes, 25 big chances created, and 85 pass accuracy in the last Premier League 3 seasons. Yeah, that's why everyone's calling him the new De Bruyne. He's just going crazy in the Premier League right now, and it's been untalked about. Not a lot of people are just not talking about it. They're just waiting to see if he scores and says, yeah, he's great, and if he doesn't score, no, he's not great. That's not how football works. It's the same way how I talk about Havertz. Havertz just dominating, 3rd in the Premier League in recoveries and tackles. And Arsenal fans for 2-3 months were saying, he's trash, he's terrible, he's a waste of money. And the guy's balling out. The only thing he weren't doing was scoring goals. And that's when he was playing the pivot 8. When they played him in the advanced 8, he had 3 goals in the last 4 games. And then I know his last game was number 9 and probably shouldn't be playing up top. But 8 is definitely, now I've seen him at the 8 and I've had half a season to analyze it. I definitely prefer him at the 8. Definitely. We should not be having another conversation with Havertz played as the main striker. That maybe
Apollo,
is a relief in the end of the game.
It's going to happen.
Well, listen. Maybe in the last parts of the relief of the game, because when Jesus and Nketiah came off, he played well in those. Look what he did against Man City.
Yeah,
he held back 3 defenders, palmed it
laid
off
to Martinelli.
Laid it off to Martinelli. Yeah, so there is. Look, you just have to manage the situation. Yeah.
My issue with him is the shooting and etc. Like he can hold the ball, but that's it. But Nketiah, okay, maybe Nketiah can't hold the ball as well because he doesn't have the height and he doesn't have the aerial ability. But Nketiah does way more off the ball and everything else than Havertz for me.
Yeah. So guys, let's go on to our strikers. So strikers, guys, I'm gonna go with Reiss Nelson as a number 6. There's been a few games where he's played where he's just. First of all, he's got 2 man of the match performances this season, considering the fact that he only had 63 Premier League minutes before the last game where he started. So he's got over 100 minutes easily now. But look, he's done well when he's come in. He's done well. He's just not playing. It's the same thing with Smith Rowe. We're sitting here trying to judge these guys, and they're not playing enough. They haven't played enough football. And for me, he needs to play more. Jesus, 6.5. Look, I'm not going to condone the fact that he's got 3 goals in 18. What is it? 17 starts. Yeah, it's not good enough. But if you're trying to win the league with a striker who's only got 3 goals half the way through the season, then you got problems. You've got problems. If your leading goal scorer is a guy who's got 5 goals in the first 9 games, and then you didn't start him for the next 10 games in Eddie, and then a winger in Saka who's got 5 goals in the first half of the season, if that's your top leading goal scorers, you're in trouble. It don't matter which way you paint it, guys. If you're trying to win the league, yeah, and that's your 2 top scorers, yeah, one guy who you ain't started in 10 games, and then the next guy who's a winger who's got 5 goals. I'm sorry. That's not going to win you the league. But for what he's done, remember, Saka's still in the top 5 of goals, assists in European football. So look, I'm not going to say that he's doing anything wrong, and he's had flaws. He ain't played well in the last 4 games. He's got as much to blame as anyone else. But overall, guys, we're not rating people in the last 4 games. We're rating them in the first half of the season, 19, 20 games. And overall, that Saka's done really well. So. So Saka's got actually, what's going on? Why isn't he's? I'm talking about Saka, and I think I missed him out there. Yes, I did. Sorry, guys. Hold on a second. Saka. So Saka. I'm going to give him an 8. Sorry about that, guys. Martinelli, I'm going to give him a 4. It's a really tough one because I've defended this guy. Look, he ain't played well. Let's get the elephant out of the way. He ain't played well. He's not going past the defender like he used to. Not just that, but when you're a winger, you got 3 options. 1, you're going to sit off, you're going to play the creative pass and set someone up. He ain't doing that. You're going to get the ball and you're going to beat your man. He's really doing that. I saw him do it twice when he came on in the last game, and I thought, ooh, I ain't seen that in a while. But as a consistency thing, he's not been doing that. The third option, and this is the most important, yeah, which neither Saka or Martinelli are doing, and it's the Theo Walcott. It's the running behind the defense onto the through ball. They're just not doing that. They're just not. And that makes it difficult for your midfielders to play that deadly pass through the defense. If you want to slip a ball through 2 centre-backs or through your wing-back and the centre-back, and your winger's not running onto it, that's on the wingers. So, unfortunately, that's where both him and Saka are really struggling. They're not running into that back, into those through balls. Trossard, I gave him a 6. Man, it's like, what's them chocolates where they all look the same, but you don't know what flavor you're going to get when you start eating them? That's Trossard. You don't know what you're going to get from him. Some games he plays and he's just lights out. And then most of that's coming off the bench. And then when you play him, you're like, huh? For me, guys, he's an impact player. I can't see him as nothing else. I bring him on in the 65th minute, 75th minute, and look for him to change a game, because that's what he does. When I start him at the beginning of the game, I just don't know what is going on inside of this guy's head. You just don't know what you're going to get from him. And unfortunately, Arteta still got to figure that out. But when I see them, he just looks... the guy is an elite footballer, man. But you just have to put an elite footballer in the positions where he'll be able to excel. And I think that's on the manager. And speaking of the manager, I'm going to give him a 7. It would have been a lot higher had the last 2 or 3 games, last 2 league games, not been there, because a week before Christmas, this guy was top of the league. He'd be sitting here getting a 9 and a 10. But it's not his fault that the striker's not being clinical, but it's his fault through the lack of rotation and the system that he's been running. Yeah, exactly. And the tactics and what I talked about with the double pivot, manager's got to see those things, and he ain't seen it. But I'm going to give him a 7 because, look, he's there or there's about. He wins on Saturday and he's in 3rd place, and then you're then up against the elites, which is where we want to be. Yeah, it's where we want to be. African Guna. Actually, let me go to Ebony because she's got to go.
I also got to go because it's 2:00 in the morning for me. But go ahead, Ebony.
All right, okay, very quickly. Reece Nelson, I'd give him a 6 when he's come on. He's impressed me, but he's not been played enough. Jesus, I'm going to give him a 4. If he's not injured, he's not clinical. It's one of the two, and he is not clinical. All right, he's meant to be a striker or thereabouts, but for me, since he's joined us, he just hasn't been shooting on all cylinders, firing on all cylinders. And Nketiah, I'm going to give him an 8 when he's called upon. Whether people think he's an impact player or not, when he's called upon, he has done a job. Okay, and I'm his biggest defender, or one of his biggest defenders, along with Apollo. All right, he gets an 8 from me. Martinelli, I'm not quite sure if it's a mental thing. I don't know if because he's been injured at points that he's been very careful. I'll give him a 5. Trossard, he's one of those players that, for me, he's one of those players that gets ruined by the manager, and I don't necessarily blame Trossard. I guess he's told what to do or told how to play in a particular way by the manager, and that is what's causing people to not be impressed by him. I'm going to give him a 7. Saka, all right, it's been off the boil of late, but by and large, he scores some fantastic goals. He gets a 9. Arteta, I'm giving him a 6 because his decision making, his choice of players, his tactics, I don't know what's going on in his head when he's playing players that he shouldn't be in certain positions. When you've got players sitting on the bench who play in those particular roles and you're not using them, I question the motives. So yeah.
All right, African Guna.
Right, I'm gonna go, guys. I shall see you.
Right.
See you again.
All the best. All the best.
Bye, Ebony. Cool.
It was nice of her to come and join us this evening.
Yeah, it was good to see her. I hadn't chatted to her in a while. For me, Nelson, I'm going to give a 5. I don't think he's come on much. That goal against Bournemouth, I was really hoping that was going to be his launch pad to something, even though I kind of had a feeling that, that was the pinnacle. That's probably the pinnacle of his career. Just like, when we had this conversation about Joe Willock at Newcastle, when he was scoring all those goals and everyone was like, oh my God, let's bring it back. Since then, he hasn't really gone on to do anything really, for me at least.
He won us the game against Brentford in the Cup this season.
Who? Nelson? Yeah, but that's one. Like, we've had like 25 games, right? Like, I need 5, 7.
I wish he played something in those games, but he just...
No, I know. He also doesn't play. He also doesn't play much, which for me is the same as Smith Rowe. Smith Rowe is the worst, but I also think it's similar with Nelson. I don't think Arteta rates him as much. I don't think he trusts him as much. And we had this conversation previously that I think we spent a lot of money. We couldn't buy another winger or a backup, so we took the cheap option. We gave Nelson, Hale End, who scored that goal last season. loved by the club. We gave him a contract extension just to kind of fill the squad, the spot. Really, he doesn't really play.
I don't mean to cut you, but here's my frustration. They're both on 100 grand a week. How are you going to get rid of them? How are you going to get rid of Smith Rowe and Nelson when they're both?
They're going to have to take pay cuts. They have to take pay cuts. I know, but this is the issue. Like we keep, we think we've recovered. It's because we're spending a lot, but our selling is still really bad. The buying has been much better, even though we've had some flops, and we can name maybe 4 or 5.
Every team has that, though. Every team
has that. Fair enough. But in terms of selling, we're still goddamn awful, and that's all on Edu, primarily in my eyes. But look. I think Nelson deserves to go somewhere else. I don't think we'll get rid of it. Like you'll stay January, but I think this summer you probably get sold between 15 to 20, maybe 25 million. Jesus, I'm going to give a 6. I think the highlight for me of Jesus was 1, the pass that he made to Martinelli in the Champions League, and 2, that banger goal he scored against PSV. Was it PSV in the Champions League at home? I mean, that was top tier. We say he's not clinical, but then he was scoring goals like that, and you see flashes of it, and you're like, wow. So yeah, he's just inconsistent. I think since his injury, he hasn't been the same. And Apollo, we talked about this, right? When he first came into the club preseason, when he destroyed Chelsea, when he went on that crazy run, like for the first whatever until he got injured, like he looked like a completely different player. I haven't seen that player since then.
Yeah, I think. Are you still there? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm waiting. You said you were going to say something.
Yeah, I was going to say something. I think that there's a way how Jesus will be elite. What does he do that frustrates you? He runs back into the midfield and just gets involved with all that stuff. I mean, the thing is, Eddie does it too, but Eddie has the work rate to run straight back and get on the end. And the thing is, good strikers are what? Opportunists. They're opportunists because they feel like that ball's going to come through, so they make runs. They feel like the goalkeeper's going to bobble the ball, so they run to the goalkeeper and try and get that second opportunity. That's what Jesus doesn't do, and that's what Eddie does. We know that Jesus is a much better creator than Eddie is. Much better creator. They both press defensively well. Credit to both of them. They press, by the way, they both press at the highest level. But it's just being a striker and scoring goals. Fox in the box, Jesus ain't that.
So remember the goal that Jesus scored against Tottenham, right? It was I remember that goal specifically. Apart from that, to be honest, I haven't seen it much. And even in Nketiah, really, in terms of spills, I think it's not just strikers. I think the whole team isn't aware, right?
We don't shoot outside enough.
But even we're not expecting, like sometimes the ball's going across the box and there's like no one, like not even Martinelli, even Saka, like no one is trying even to go for it. It's like no one is expecting it, right? Or it's just like, I don't know. You see, and that's part of the
Vincent
coaching.
Just said Martinelli's amazing on the bench.
And that's part of the coaching that I was referring to in terms of the tactics of like, okay, in training, we need to be doing this. I agree, by the way. I agree with this 100%. Willock would have been better than Havertz in the 8. So I totally agree with that. But yeah, no, I was saying in terms of just general, I think the tactics and trying stuff, I think Arteta's very stubborn. We know this, right? He's like, this is my way or no way, kind of. That's why he has this man management issues with some of the players, right? So for me, I think he needs to change some of the tactics. There needs to be like, a training session that says, hey, we're going to shoot from outside the box this entire training or whatever, score as many goals as possible. And I think when you practice that, it becomes natural in your brain. I think we're overcoached. And, this is not the first time we've gone through this. I think a few years ago, we went through this under Emery as well, where it was like too overcoached. It takes out any originality. I don't know if the right word is originality or enthusiasm of freedom or I don't know what the word is, but I think you know what I'm trying to say, right? Like when Jesus is going to dribble, like Sanchez is going to do his own thing. We don't have that in the team anymore. Like it's just been removed from us because everything is so like, this is what you do when you get the ball, you're passing this way or this way. Like it's so tactically, like every single move, step. And then I think that has taken some kind of passion out of our team and out of our game. It's too predictable, right? Everybody knows how we're going to try and score. And we're going to keep going in the circle, right? Martinelli backwards, all the way back to Saliba and Gabriel. Okay, start again. Like
it's so predictable. We can see it. Other teams know it's there, and we've just become so one-dimensional. And the manager's got to change that.
What did Vinci
Vinci.
say? It's not natural, or it's the hallmark of a player and the team. And yeah, I think a lot of people don't talk about this, but this I think is a big problem in our team.
Yeah.
Nketiah, I'm gonna give. I think 6.5 is fair. Good on him. He scored a hat trick, his first hat trick. It was actually a banger. That, by the way, that third goal that Nketiah scored, if he could do that way more often, I think people would think of him very differently. That's the first time I've ever seen Nketiah score a goal like that, and that's because he wanted it. He wanted that goal badly.
But I'm going to say this to you again. That was the 9th game of the season, which he played. Actually, that was game 10, which he had 9 starts, and that was his 5th goal in 9 games. He didn't make another appearance until the 19th game.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
So for 10, thanks for the 5 goals in 9 starts, and then you don't see him again in the 19th game.
Yeah, but see, then my counter argument is, okay, 5 goals in those 9 starts, but 3 goals in 1 game, right?
Yeah,
if those 3 goals were spread out, again, it's a different conversation. I think people see.
A lot of people are saying, "Oh, it's Sheffield." You name me another striker.
It doesn't matter what team it is.
You name me another striker who scored a hat trick against Sheffield this season. Exactly.
Yeah, or in general, it's a hat trick is a hat trick. You can't take that away from anybody. Even if they're all tap-ins, a hat trick is a hat trick. Okay,
God.
cool. Martinelli, my client. This one hurts. It's a 3.
But I don't want you to take it face on, because I did say to you, half of it is his fault. But when you look at the build-up play and you look at the triangles and overlaps and the support that Saka gets on the right, from Odegaard, from Havertz, from Jesus, and from Ben White, you look on the left, tell me what support he gets. Nothing.
Yeah, Nothing. And this brings the devil's name. The devil's name, Granit Xhaka.
But it's not just the Xhaka. It's also Zinchenko.
No, he's missing Xhaka.
It's also Zinchenko as well.
No, but I think Xhaka was doing a lot of the covering. First of all, we know he was filling in the left back. So Martinelli had to do less.
And that allowed Zinchenko to get forward, and that's what made that work. Yeah,
absolutely.
And the synergy
and
with
he had
Jesus.
a partnership there, right? At this moment, Arteta keeps changing the 8 as well, right? The left 8, so he's not building a partnership with anyone.
He's got no relationship with Havertz whatsoever. And
none.
That's killing him. None.
His head is down way too much. Sometimes he's dribbling too much. Sometimes I feel like he's taking too much pressure on himself. Because last season, now he's a starter. He plays for Arsenal. I feel like it's too much pressure, and he's trying to do something great every game instead of sometimes playing it simple. And I think that's burdening him and it's taking out of his game. But also, as you said, I think zero chemistry. No one helping him. That left hand side, we are struggling. And sometimes I look at him and I'm like, oh, I can't really get too upset at you because you're not getting any help. And the other thing is he's crossing with his left foot, right? He's giving me Kolasinac vibes where he's just like crosses and hope. He needs to be way more intentional with his crosses, for me, in my opinion. But yeah, I think apart from that, unfortunately, it's been a poor season, 2 goals. But Saka has also been poor. That whole front line has been poor. So I think, people are saying, let's sell I post a lot of stuff about Martinelli because he's my favorite player, and I have people in my comments saying, "Let's sell him. Let's get some over the top stuff." It's like crazy. He has a few bad games. Like people forget everything we did last season.
I know.
At his age, he matched Firmino for the highest scoring Brazilian in the Premier League in terms of goals. Like people don't, people forget Martinelli and Saka carried us when we had nothing. When we were
the life of a fan is very fickle, my friend.
I know.
What have you done for me lately? That's what it is.
Trossard, I think 6 is high because I don't think he's played a lot of games. And as I said, I think partially, when we had this conversation, people told me, he's better as an impact player. He's not good when he starts. And I was like, nah, come on. What kind of nonsense is that? But then actually, when I started watching it, I was like, oh, you know what? He actually is not great when he starts. He's much better when he comes on. But I think he lost, as I said before, he lost motivation. He's not getting enough game time. It's like an NBA 2K, right? Like the player, he's shooting threes, he's on a hot streak. At some point, the hot streak is going to end, and Arteta put him on cold ice, and that hot streak is pretty much done for me.
I think what Arteta does is he hits 3 threes in a row, and then Arteta says, "Okay, you're coming off now." And it's like,
By the way, it's not just him. And Nketiah also same conversation, right? Like this game. In the FA Cup, he should have been starting because he was playing decently well. Why did he
look at his home record? Why would you do that? Why? I would love to be sitting down in the room with Arteta and saying, "What was your thought pattern
Yeah.
in resting a guy who's got you 17 goals in the last 22 starts in this stadium. He's just on fire. He's poor when he's away from home. We all agree.
Yeah.
But Eddie scores in the Emirates Stadium. He just does. And
so
then you
I think the
him.
thinking is low blocks and to win the ball and then just like go off the second ball. So Havertz wins the first ball, lays it off to whoever, Odegaard rides, whoever's going to pick it up. And then from there, we can start playing through the ball, whatever. Blah, blah, blah. And yeah, again, you said he had 5 chances in that first half. Some of them are like gilt edge.
Bro, there was a time when Havertz passed the ball to the goalkeeper. I was like, bro,
I know. And even one where he took it like so left and then he shot it, and it was such a weak shot. And I'm like, and it was on his left foot, which is a strong foot. And I'm like, dude. No way this guy's a striker. Like, he's not deadly enough. He's just not a killer.
He's not a striker. He's not a striker.
And Chelsea fans are laughing because they've seen it all. They know. They knew from the moment we bought him, and they're laughing at the all the way to the bank. 65.
But they didn't play. They didn't play him at the 8 though. They didn't play him at the 8.
Nah, but also at the 8 Apollo, he's not good enough at the 8 for me.
Like, I think he is.
Yeah, he's okay.
And you know what? And you know what?
When
we take him out and we put in Vieira and Trossard and all these other things, we actually lose a lot of defensive aptitude.
Yeah, he does. He does a lot off the ball. I'll give him that. He does. But you know what? I'll say 2 more points on Havertz. One, about this like laziness. Where's Bertram? We always talk about lazy, where Arteta didn't like Ozil because of his attitude and his demeanor, even though he did a lot of the stuff. If he had a problem with Ozil for that, why would you go and get someone who's almost exactly the same?
But he's not, because kilometers run. He's second in the Premier League last season.
No, I know. I'm not saying about
actual. One person runs more than he does in the entire Premier League.
I'm not disputing that. I'm saying you remember Ozil as well. He had the same statistics. He actually runs the most, blah, blah, blah. But when you watch him, he looks lazy. And I'm saying, why even take a chance and spend money, 65 million on a player that has similar attributes to a guy that you
he overpaid. He overpaid for him. Yeah, he overpaid for him. And, Chelsea are laughing to the bank. People think that the Havertz is producing defensive numbers. He scored 4 goals for Arsenal. So it's a silly argument, but it is still an argument. Yeah, it's subjective. But the Mason Mount.
No, 100%. 100%. Yeah, that's worse. It's worse. Way worse. But you know who was the real winners? Chelsea with Cole Palmer. I actually like him. I think if we got him instead of Havertz and played him in this 8, we would have been so good. He's actually a really good player. So we actually
I think we should just would have won it. A lot of people like to bash Arteta and they don't try to give as much balanced views as they can. But I'm going to say something about Arteta right now. Arteta, man, he's got an eye for talent, man. Arteta's got an eye for talent, because if you look at when he wanted Douglas Luiz, when nobody thought Douglas Luiz was a good footballer, Arteta was like, I want this guy. And what does he do? He offers 20 million, they reject it. 25 million, they reject it. If you see what they paid for Havertz now, man, you should have went all in on Douglas Luiz, man, because Douglas 100%. Luiz is the truth.
And if we put 65, even 40 mil at the time, we would have.
You would have got him. Yeah, you would have got him.
Now he's worth 60, 70, and they don't even want to sell. They don't even want to sell.
Easily. And you know what? You lose El Nene and Jorginho this summer. So you that's why you're looking at Onana, because you need a midfielder. But Douglas Luiz, Arteta's got an eye for talent, man. And a lot of you won't say
Unai Emery is never selling to Arteta. I promise you that. I promise you that. And Unai Emery wants Smith Rowe, by the way. I mean, that's why he's being linked. And by the way,
let's do the deal. Let's do the deal.
I have 2 more players to go through, but I want to talk to bring up this point on Aston Villa and Unai Emery. Unai Emery actually got if you look at Aston Villa's team, a lot of the players that they have was players that he actually wanted when he was our manager. And look at what he's doing now with that team. Pau Torres, all these guys, he wanted them for Arsenal, right? He just didn't get the money.
It's a long season. Let's see how it goes, because I gave Eddie Howe a lot of respect, and when people are talking to me about Unai Emery, I said, don't talk to me about Unai Emery. When Unai Emery does what Eddie Howe did last season, then we can have the conversation. And at the moment, he's in the conversation, but let's see how it goes. Let's see how it pans
I'm giving
out.
Saka a 7, and I'm giving Arteta a 6. Saka, he's still putting some numbers, but he doesn't look nearly the same. When he's one-on-one, like there's something wrong, there's something not right now, because he's had some chances in the last few games where he's burying that almost all the time.
Yeah.
And he's just completely off the ball right now.
Yeah.
So I don't know if teams have just figured it out, if he's just tired, or he's been carrying for a long time. Saka has so much credit in the bank, and
so so you're playing Arsenal this weekend, yeah? You're the opposing manager, because this is the real thing, you're talking about managers have worked it out. Yeah, Arsenal have become so one-dimensional. You're an opposing manager. What are you going to do? You're going to, first of all, load an extra man on Saka, because that's where Arsenal build all their play. You're going to leave Martinelli in single coverage. Why? Because he can't get past your guy.
He's out of form.
And he's out of form.
Yeah.
So that's it. Oh, and by the way, don't worry about the guys in the middle, because they can't score either. It's not that hard. If you're a guy if you're Crystal Palace, so if you're Hodgson this weekend, it don't take much for you to draw up a game plan against Arsenal.
Play a low block and hit us on the counter.
Yeah.
And target our left side, where Zinchenko's not playing, so it's going to be Kiwior again this weekend, unless because Tomiyasu's out. I mean, we have nothing. It's going to be Kiwior.
Yeah.
The only thing about this weekend that I'll say is Jesus will be hopefully starting, and I think that'll bring a little bit more unpredictability, which may give us 1 or 2 goals. But we're not scoring 3, 4, 5 goals. So like that was.
So
last
let's talk tactics. What would you do this weekend? Because for me, I would go in a drastically different situation, because your left back isn't good. Your right back's not good. And every game you're carrying them. And so about 2 games, this was
and our 8, and we're carrying our left 8 as well.
And after we lost to West Ham, I turned around to Gary and I said to Gary, it's time we go 3 at the back, for 2 reasons.
I've been saying this. Oh my God.
Number one, when you took over the team and you went 3 at the back, I think that was the best football you ever played. When you went 3-4-3, that was the best Arteta ball I've ever seen you play. And you had terrible players. You were carrying some.
Yeah, but you had a superstar like Aubameyang up there who could do magic sometimes. And so the speed, you just can't deal with him. Even now, I look at him, what he's doing for Marseille, and I'm like, dude, if he was in our team right now.
You want to hear a joke? In that 3-4-3, who was the 2 players that he had in that team?
Don't say David Luiz.
Who was the 2 most unsung players he had in that team?
Yeah, Saka. Tierney and Saka.
Nope.
Lacazette.
Nope.
El Neni.
Nope.
In where? In midfield or in defense?
Both.
Don't say Cedric. No, it wasn't Cedric Suarez.
No, you said everybody. That's why I'm asking the question, because nobody remembers how elite those guys were. There was performances against Chelsea. We beat Man City. We beat Liverpool. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Give me a second, because I should know this.
Easy. The first one is in defense. He had a guy who took out Sterling, Mahrez, Salah, Armand Traore. I've never seen a guy defend Armand Traore except for this guy. When he came on, he took out Raheem Sterling. One player did that in defense.
It wasn't Nuno Tavares. It wasn't Tierney. It wasn't. No. It was a left back. Who was the left back?
It wasn't the left back.
Oh, Gabriel. No, it wasn't Gabriel. It wasn't at the time. I can't remember.
It was Ainsley Maitland-Niles, who was playing. It was because it was a 3-4-3, but he was playing a midfield right back, a hybrid wing back, and he absolutely was on fire. Look, Stu knows exactly who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I totally forgot. You're right.
You know who the other guy is? Who, when we went to Liverpool, we beat them 2-1, and
Reece Nelson.
Yes, bang! Well done, mate.
Yeah, but I should have gotten the Maitland-Niles one. You know what? I've totally forgot about him. And by the way, I just want to make a point on Maitland-Niles. You see how we've forgotten about Maitland-Niles? I feel the same way about Nelson and Nketiah. If those 2 left, and you ask a question like this to reference those players, I think it's not something that people would pick up. But 100%
No, they
now that you
wouldn't.
say it,
But
Maitland-Niles was
you
on
was
fire
here
that
with me.
time.
You was here with me. So was Bertram. We were watching
Yeah.
the games, and we was like, we'd say to each other, like, hold on a second. Has Raheem Sterling actually had a shot on target? Has Armand Traore actually carried the ball forward? Has Salah even had a shot on? Who's marking him? Maitland-Niles.
That's when he got his confidence, and he's like, screw this, I don't want to
That's when
play
he got
right
moved to
back
the England team. That's when he made the England squad.
for a
And
bit. Yeah,
who was it? It was Wolves that put in a
a bid,
26 million
25
bid for him.
23 million bid.
Yeah.
We rejected it, and then we sold him for nothing, 5 mil. By the way, the same thing is going to happen with Smith Rowe, right? Because Aston Villa, before this, they offered us like 30-40 mil when we wanted Buendia, right? And now look, what are we going to get for him?
I mean, 40 million is a funny number because you consider that.
That's how much we pay for Partey.
Yeah, but if you look at it now, in the context of now, it's like,
oh yeah, Chelsea F the market, man.
Yeah, that's how much Mason Mount went for, guys. And you know the joke about it, that's how much James Maddison went for, guys. Like,
yeah, sorry. So that was my point to you about Havertz, right? That 65 mil if we got Maddison.
I'm a big you know I love Maddison, man.
Yeah, I loved him too, man. He could have played with Odegaard.
Yeah,
and then Declan Rice behind both of them. Oh my
god.
And Maddison was on fire. Let's see how he is when he comes back from injury. Hopefully it takes him a while to hit back to that peak. Because him and Son, they were, oh my god, they were on fire.
Yeah.
So lastly on Arteta, right? I gave him a 6.
Yeah.
He's fumbled it. We got knocked out first round FA Cup, first round League Cup, first or second round League Cup. Bro, I didn't expect, even if we didn't win it, but at least semis, quarterfinals, final. Now league, we're 4th. We're gonna be 3rd this weekend, hopefully, right?
Yeah.
And then what? We're just chasing Liverpool. We're chasing Man City. We know ourselves. We had one good season last. We know how we are for the past 10, 15 years. Last year was phenomenal. It was an incredible year. We really should have won last year. That was a better chance than even when Leicester won the league, And we were supposed to win that year when Giroud couldn't finish those damn chances that Ozil put on the field. But Arteta is in close to deep water. I know maybe within the club that's not really where it is now, but 1 or 2 more losses and this whole sink is starting to shift. And once the fans come on and then it starts building up and then we see riots and protests outside, then the Kroenkes are being talked about again. Right now we can't say anything about the Kroenkes. They give us all the money.
And did you see Edu's interview today where he talked about the club's goal? When asked with the question about Champions League, he was asked a question. I put it up on the forum, by the way. He was asked a question, what's admirations? What's going on in Champions League? And he played it off as to say what's important and what our aim is and what our goal is. Because everybody's always talking about what our aim and goals are. Trust the process. The process was to get the team back in the Champions League in 3 years. They done it. That's why they've got new contracts. That's why the guys are flying right now.
Yeah.
He said, and this is to anybody who hasn't seen that interview yet, Edu said, our goal is to continue to improve every year. When I heard that, I was like, say what now? So you heard nothing about league title, nothing about winning Champions League, nothing. He said, our goal is to continue improving every single year. When I heard that, I was like, say what now?
What else do you expect him to say? He knows he can't say anything because of where we are. Like, what is he going to say? Because now if he says it and we just fumble, he's going to lose his job.
Yeah. And the thing is, and that's where it is, guys. And I've said this on the channel for many years. The team is a young team built from the foundation of Edu and Arteta. They all go in unison. Yeah, it ain't going to be a thing where it's one person or it's this person or it's that section. Each level, the young players, the experienced squad being added now, Arteta, first time as a manager, Edu, first time as a technical director, Vinay's been put in that position because Sanelli got kids. So they're all new in their roles.
We're new
in their roles. And we got some Arsenal fans saying, "Oh, he ain't going to be here any long. He's going to be sacked if he doesn't do it." You know what? I absolutely don't think that that's the case. I think that the guys who built this foundation has shown the owners that we can compete on the highest level in world football. That's what they've done. They ain't won anything of worth, but they've shown the owners that they have taken a broken team with half a stadium who finished 8th place. Remember, it wasn't just the 8th place. When Arteta came in, Arsenal were 14th in the league. A lot of people forget that. When he sat on the bench against Everton, Freddie Ljungberg had the team to a 1-1 draw. Arsenal were 14th in the Premier League. Yeah? I think the owners have looked at that and not just that, but the cash flow that's coming, the commercial business, what those two people, Arteta and Edu, have done to their franchise. And the owners have gone, guys, keep up the great work. That's what's happening behind closed doors. But the fans' perception is, oh, if we don't win the Premier League, they got to go.
No, it wasn't about. It's not necessarily that
I'm
we
not
have
saying
to
you.
win the
I'm
league.
not saying
No,
you.
I
I'm
know.
saying,
You're not saying me.
What
but
I'm reading on Twitter, what I'm seeing on YouTube.
I know.
Yeah.
But I'm also saying, like, okay, I have some rebuttals to that, right? Because it's about winning, right? And if we get knocked out of the Champions League and we come third and we would just qualify for Champions League, how does Arteta and Edu go to the Kroenkes this summer and ask for more money? If I was the owner, I'd turn around and be like, hey, dude, I gave you 200 million and what did you do this season? I totally hear all your points, by the way.
Yeah.
Super valid. They built the foundation. They've brought this. But I think, you know, in the past, remember when we used to dream about Allegri and Ancelotti, but we were never in a position for those types of managers to come to us because we were just in the dumps. We weren't spending the money that they wanted to get the transfer targets, and we weren't competing. Now we are at that place, and we have.
But why are we there? We're there.
No, I agree, right? I agree.
Yeah.
But maybe the next step is, okay, Arteta flops the season and we go find that elite manager that's had experience, that is a Zidane or something like that, to take us to that final step. I don't know. I'm not saying that I'm right or I'm wrong. I don't know, but
I'm asking the same questions as you, but I've never had an answer to that question because I've seen the likes of Carlo Ancelotti come here. I've seen Tuchel come here. I've seen Conte, who I rate as top 3 manager in the year in the world. I've seen them come into here and just die. So there's no guarantees. None.
Of course, there's never guarantees. But
There's
Apollo,
no
if we
guarantees.
don't get anything this season, it's the 5th year. One FA Cup in 5 years. I want to back the guy, but like, what can we say? He had all the money. He's had the most money we've ever seen in our life. I've never seen a manager in my life get more money than him as an Arsenal manager. So what else can we say?
Unfortunately, it still pales into comparison to what our rivals.
No,
of course. But it seems now you just need to spend that just to tread water, just to stay in the game.
Yeah. But we always knew this, right? I mean, some of our frustration 5, 6, 7 years ago was that it was obvious to, we were frustrated with the owners saying it's obvious you need to spend money to even compete, and we weren't even doing that. Now we're doing that. We're starting to build. We have a good foundation. We have a good squad. People that say that we need to restart and scrap this whole thing, that's never happening. Impossible. We worked way too hard to get to this point. We do have a good team. We just need another 4 or 5 superstar signings that are either players on the bench that are going to come on like a Man City and do the business for us when our first team isn't. Or when you start changing the tactics or getting a first-team player to replace Partey or replace Kai Havertz, put your ego aside, Arteta, put your hands up, make him a sub. It doesn't mean sell him. We're not going to sell Havertz, but put him on the bench, let him be an impact player, and buy a serious person. And
I'd like to see that definitely happen, and I think it is going to, because we know that the commercial business is going to absolutely accelerate and blow out the market this summer. Arsenal are going to be so cash rich this summer that they're just going to have the pick of the bunch. However, the point you made about Victor Osimhen, if Chelsea offer him, from what I'm hearing, 400 grand a week, there's no way, shape, or form
it'll break our wage structure.
It would. And remember, that's why we lost Mudryk in the end, because it wasn't the fee. Mudryk doesn't see the fee; his agent does.
It was the money.
But it's the fact that they tripled Mudryk's salary, and quite frankly, they're stuck with a bum deal right now. But
Oh yeah, thank God, thank
yeah, I
God.
know,
That's
I
one of
know.
those like
But
Thomas Lamar situations. Like if we
yeah,
had
it
spent
is.
92 million on
But
that
what's
guy, oh my
Casado done
God.
this season? What's Lavia done this season? What have those guys done
No, but
this season?
Lavia's been injured, but I agree with you 100%. Like,
Yeah,
but we shouldn't look at Chelsea players as any barometer or comparison or benchmark because they're just like crazy, right? I mean, what they're doing is not normal, and
and
the
they're
fact
the
that
ones that are offering this money to Ossiham at the moment because it's a
and they
simple
broke
deal.
all the rules, right? They
Yeah,
made 10-year contract, like, and now they finally fixed that. But I mean, it's a bit late. They
yeah,
totally exploited that, right?
yeah.
So
That's
for
right.
me,
Yeah,
I don't look at that. I'm just looking at this point specifically, Apollo. Last season in January, when we were sitting here, I told you we needed to sign someone, a top player. It was either
yeah,
a striker or a midfielder. That's what we
yeah,
needed at that time. We didn't do the business. We had a Saliba injury, we had a Partey injury, and we completely flustered. We're back in the same position again now. Next 1 year later, we need a signing. We need 100%. We
yeah.
need a
I just
signing.
don't. I just don't know how we get there because the
We
only
sell Nelson, sell Nketiah, sell Smith
yeah,
Rowe. Okay, maybe sell two of them. Sell two of them. We can't sell
yeah,
all three. Sell two of them. Get good money for them, and get somebody. Even if it's this
yeah,
Onana, even if it's Vlahovic, like we need to bring something. We need uh some new life. There's no life.
yeah,
This
yeah,
team has sucked all the life out of us. We need something fresh and new. Someone that we
yeah,
can say, hey, you know what? We are gonna put all our faith in this guy. We really think he's the real deal because we've seen him do it before. He has the
yeah,
stature, and that could even be a Benzema. Even a
yeah.
Benzema would make the fan base go crazy because
Yeah, it
we're
would. It would. It
mourning
would.
for a killer, and we know
It
he
would.
is. And by the
And
way, for me,
he said
I
he
think
wants to go. He wants to go.
it's
So
it's
for
it's the
Arsenal,
wage
the only problem is the wage bill. Exactly. The only
too
problem
high.
because remember the wage bill also goes against FFP as well. We're really up against it at the moment.
But
And I
then,
said
Apollo,
this
my
last
point
month.
is,
I
we
said
should have
this last
known
month.
this in the summer. Like
But we
we're
did. But
talking.
we thought the strikers that we had now were going to perform like they did last season, and they're not.
Come on,
You know. And then
come on.
and also in the first half of the season last year, the only major injury we had was Jesus.
Last year, yeah,
Yeah,
Partey had a little bit of an injury, but he
he
was
only
okay
missed
most
two
of the
games in the
season.
first 20. He only
Yeah,
missed
and
two
then
games.
and then
Oh no, he fell off a cliff, and so did Saliba. But I'm just saying that this part of
yeah, no,
last season, we had one. And right now this season, we've had 11 players injured. So it's a completely different.
yeah, it is also bad luck, but
Yeah, and
yeah, you know
not
what?
to mention how competitive this season is as well. It's like I can't believe, like Spurs were up there, Villa's up there. I mean Liverpool,
Newcastle,
yeah,
Brighton, really
yeah,
good teams. All of
yeah.
them are really good teams.
You ain't gonna get away with it this season if you're not up for the fight.
And
you can get
every season, we're talking about Brighton, Newcastle, Aston Villa. Every season, you're gonna add one more, and it's gonna be like a top 10. It's not a top 4 anymore, like a top 14, top 6 clubs. It's gonna be top 10 clubs. So look, we are in a position where we need to take advantage because in a few years, we're gonna look back and say, hey, that was that phase. That was our phase when we could have been European champions, Premier League champions, and we wasted it away. We shouldn't have had Arteta. We shouldn't have had Havertz. Whatever the case is that we want to blame at the time. I just don't want to get there.
I think my closing comments is, and I've been quite balanced today. I've talked about a lot of the good and a lot of the bad. And I don't think this is a good or a bad thing. But what I do want to say is my closing comments is, when was the last time that Arteta, in his 4-year reign as Arsenal manager, has brought through an academy player? So I've seen this season a ton of times where we've had academy players sitting on the bench. And
Ethan Nwaneri and Miles Lewis-Skelly.
But that was a one-time deal. Where's he been since?
No, he's been on the bench a couple of times, but we just don't want to. He doesn't want to use them.
He doesn't want to use them. So what I would like to see this season is give one of these guys a chance, man. Because
it's not happening. If we were still in the League Cup and FA Cup, I would say yes, but now it's finished.
Yeah. I mean, the only way how you're gonna know whether a guy is balling is if you put him on the field.
Apollo, imagine we played Ethan Nwaneri in the 8th and he broke out like a Wilshere or a Fabregas.
Like Rashford or Rooney or anything like that. But you won't know unless you do it.
Yeah. But the thing is, if he tries and it doesn't go well,
then, take him off. You've lost nothing.
No,
especially
I
if you're.
know.
Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, there's been games that we've been 2 or 3-0 up, and you got the kids sitting on the bench,
P-
and it's like,
PSV, PSV, we were first in the group, and there was even if we lost, it didn't mean anything, and he didn't even play. And in
yeah,
preseason, he was pretty good, huh? He looked pretty strong for a
yeah.
15, 16 year old kid. It was just to get him to sign the contract, and
I
Arteta
just
pulled
want to
one
see
on him.
Skelly. I want to see Ruel Walters. There is a gem in there somewhere, and I want Arteta to find it. That's what my challenge is for Arteta. Because
So
after 4 years, I can't say one player who you brought through the academy. Not
none. It
one.
was all Emery before. It was Saka, Martinelli. It was all before.
Yeah,
The thing for me is when I think about this specific situation is if the first team players can't even do it, how dare you go to your academy players? Kind of vibe, right? It's like you can't take. It's such a big risk. Your main players can't do it, and then you look.
yeah.
As a manager, I see where he's coming from, right? I
Yeah.
see why he doesn't play Nelson. I see why he doesn't play Smith Rowe. Well, I don't agree with the Smith Rowe, but like it's obvious that he doesn't trust them, right? So
Yeah.
for me, I can understand like he's like, how can I play these guys? My own star
Yeah.
players, Martinelli, Saka, Jesus, they can't do it. How am I going to expect the 15-year-old, 16-year-old kid to come on and do something? So
I think the issue is he if he put a Wanyeri or a Skelly in there,
and they did well.
Then Arteta would come out looking like a gem. He'd come out looking
No,
like
or
a
he
king.
won't be able to take them out the team because everyone's going to say, "Oh, play him every week, play him every week," and then then those
Yeah.
kids become like big-headed, and it's like,
yeah.
It's a lot to manage as a manager, to be
It
honest.
is.
It's a lot.
It is. All right, guys. What's your final closing comments? I think you already said it, didn't you?
Closing comments is this weekend. It's do or die for me. We
Yeah.
have to win. Even a draw will be a disaster. I really, look, even if we don't sign someone, I wanted to see an attempt, even if it's a fake attempt or whatever, right? Just to kind of, show something, save face, at least show us that you're like, you're going to put a bid in for Vlahovic for 40 million. It gets rejected. Okay, cool. But at least at the end of the window, I can look back and say, you know what, you tried. And I can respect that. But if we don't try anything and we just go through hoping that Thomas Partey, Timber, and all these guys are going to come back and change the whole team, which I think they will. But on the other side, if they don't, then again, we're in a problem. We're in a problem. And
we're in a problem anyway because of the money situation. Yeah. I mean, like when I spoke to Colin yesterday, he was saying to me, because there's Forest got caught again, Everton's been caught twice. Arsenal are on red alert.
What's happening with Man City, man? How are these teams getting breaches, but Man City are just untouchable? Like I hate
it's because of the amount of charges.
It's for two reasons. Take 5 at a time. What?
Yeah,
this is like.
Yeah, they can't because they presented it. This thing has been going on. It's like a decade investigation, and the original was a 4-year investigation into finding out what was going on back then. But the main two reasons is there's 150 charges.
15,
that's number one.
Or 121.
That's number one. And the second main reason is because they didn't admit to it. Whereas with Forest and Everton, it was only one charge, and they said, yeah, we did it.
Yeah.
They admitted to it. So that's why, there's news came out today that there's 2 dates that they have now for the Tribune. But it's out of the Premier League's hands. Yeah, Man City, yeah. But it's out of the Premier League's hands now. It's all gone to the Tribune.
You know what I'm thinking when you're saying this? The lawyers or whatever, right? They should have thought this through, and if it's true that it's because 115, they should have just broken it up. I mean, the fact that no one thought about these things, I don't know. I just feel like Man City and Chelsea get away with everything.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, you can't defend it. You can't defend it because if I did one thing wrong, and you said to me, Apollo, no, that was you're wrong. You're guilty, Apollo. I said, I'll be all right. Okay, I made a mistake. And then you might forgive me. But if I did something 115 times, that's just stupidity. That's not a mistake. That's you doing it over and over and over and over again intentionally. While on the news, they were saying, we're bringing out these new FFP rules. You can't do this. You can't do that. You can't do this. And they were continuously doing it. So it's not guilty, guys. It's guilty. It's like you knew you broke the law. And it wasn't a mistake because you continuously did it. So it's 4 charges on 115 charges on 4 counts. And you just overly did it over and over and over and over and over.
Yeah.
You can't defend that. If you did it once, you probably defend it. But You can't defend it.
Oh wait, I forgot to add to my closing comments. I don't want to have any VAR debacles this weekend or referee. Like, it needs to be clean, please. We've been really sucker punched this year with referees.
Yeah.
I know other fans never agree with us, and they always think but really, we really have. You know, Joe Ellington is injured, I think, for a few months. I never celebrate a player getting injured, no matter what team they play for. But you know, God was
He's a nasty
watching
piece
these
of work.
cheaters, and
Yeah.
this is punishment.
Karma, my
Exactly.
friend. Yeah. All right, guys, listen, that's it. It's 2 a.m. in African Good. Where are you?
3
a.m. Oh, right. Are you in Dubai
3
right now? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in Dubai. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it's 3 a.m. where he is, and it's 10:42 over here in the UK and London. So I want to thank all of you guys who joined us today. I will section off the conversations when the video ends. I will try to, because we got through a hell of a lot today. I didn't think we were going to get through as much as we did, but we did.
This always happens. You know, when we talk about Arsenal.
A lot of it is my fault, guys, because I haven't been healthy. But, you know, now I'm kind of getting back on my 2 feet. I will have a Palace Arsenal preview coming up for you guys later on this week on the channel. And we may have a stream for you on the weekend as well, because I'll be at the stadium at the game this weekend. But thanks, everybody. Happy New Year to you all. And thanks to African Guna. Appreciate your time tonight, man.
Cheers.
Nice one, guys.